What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Resident Darrell, and on this special episode, I bring on two guests, some good friends of mine, to talk about the late, great Jason David Frank and the greatest voice of Batman in all of the animated films, the Kevin Conroy. Unfortunately, but fortunately, the conversation goes one-sided for quite a bit of time, so we really just spend the bulk of our time leaning into the JDF conversation. So there are several times where I referenced where I'm going to come back to the end of the show, and I'm going to do the leaderboards and all those things. What I decided to do was just record a piece solo in the beginning and give you guys the weekly recaps of the backlog beatdown and the Loot Bros leaderboards, as well as all the other little spin-off and side competitions that we have supported and have launched and all the different things. So with that being said, I know we do toast later in the show, but I'm going to crack a special toast to our Patreon producers. And I wanted to jump into the housekeeping real quick. If you guys wouldn't mind checking out the latest YouTube channel that I've launched, it is just Resident Darrell. That is where I'm doing my flea market finds and our gaming challenges that the Bearded Nerd and myself throw at each other each and every month. This month's challenge, we're doing the White Elephant Christmas Challenge. So typically what we do is we go into the Facebook group and one of the two of us issues a challenge to the other and we say, hey, this is what we're doing. So the first month he challenged me and he said, hey, we're going to do scary games, spooky games for October. Whoever can get the most valuable spooky game for the cheapest price, and our budget is $20. Okay. So then in November, I came back and I said, all right, we're going to do the $1 video game challenge. Whoever can get the most valuable game for $1. And now what the Bearded Nerd has done is he suggested to me, not on a video, not on a podcast, but just off air, say, hey, what if we did something really cool where we do a White Elephant Christmas and each one of us has a $20 budget and we have to find a game on the other person's list. So what we'll do is we'll put those lists out. We'll make those lists public. And then it's like, hey, we're going to pick 5 or so games. And these are the games that we're looking for. And the challenge is this: to find those games as cheap as possible, right? So if obviously you want to spend less than the budget that we have. But then we have to send that game to the other person. They can't know what it is. So they're going to open up the package on video and they're going to go, oh man, this is the game you got me. And then we will let you guys, the Loot Bros community, decide who got the better gift, and then we'll reveal what we paid for it. So now a lot of you guys will be seeing the footage of this stuff because we're filming these transactions. We're filming our hunting trips, our Facebook Marketplace conversations, and we're putting them on our respective YouTube channels. So if you'll go to the Bearded Nerd on YouTube or Resident Darrell on YouTube, you will be able to see each and every one of these videos. And so far, I've been pretty consistent, at least on my end. I'm posting at least a video a week. So I'm editing up the next video now, and I'm kind of trying to take my flea market finds and yard sale finds and garage sale finds from Saturday and post a video of those by Wednesday, and then filming more on Wednesday because I go in the middle of the week because our local flea market is open on Wednesday mornings. Now, sometimes the spoils and the finds from Wednesday aren't all that spectacular, so maybe it takes a Wednesday and a Saturday to kind of put together a full video. But either way, that's kind of the pattern. What I'd love to do is eventually get to a point where I drop a Wednesday video and then a weekend video based on the various finds, like record on Saturday, post by Wednesday, record on Wednesday, post by Saturday kind of thing. But we will see. It really just depends on what I find because I have a lot of footage, but not everything is me actually finding things. Now, there are other things that I pick up that are collectibles and are flippables. So sometimes I will do a video of the entirety of all those things. So we'll kind of see where it all shakes out and where it all falls. But all that being said, please check out the YouTube videos. Each and every week I put all the links to everything in the comments, in the body, in the description of each and every episode. So please go check out one of our partners and sponsors. It is Teds-Collectibles. If you go to his Etsy store, which I have the link in the description, you can just copy it and paste it. They use the promo code Loot Bros. You get 10% off on these really awesome collectible cards where you can show off your favorite trophy and achievements that you have collected, even your Steam Chivos. So, awesome stuff that we do. And of course, we have the Patreon. I want to give a shout out to our Patreon producers. I do shout you guys out later in the show. Thank you to all the patrons and the new patrons. We have new patrons right now. Thank you guys for joining. We really appreciate the support. And it is because of you that we're able to do more and more stuff. It's because of you that we're able to do more and more of these pledge games. We're able to do, we supported Legacy Comix on their last run of comic books, and we put an ad in their comic book with the Loot Bros podcast. And so it's things like that we're able to do that's really awesome because of your support. So thank you guys so much for everything that you do. With that being said, I'm going to jump into the leaderboards. So we're going to start off on the True Achievements leaderboard. In first place, we have Sadik with 2,183 achievement points. Shout out to Sadik, Patreon producer. Taking first place, that is awesome. Second place, I'm Styling on You Bro with 1,720 achievement points. Homie is killing the big simulator games. And this latest achievement was in Muscle Memory from Pro Gymnast Simulator. I swear, dude, every week you're playing a different sim that I didn't even know existed. And it's the wildest thing ever. Next up, we have third place Sony Pony 2U with 900 achievement points, playing some super Ninja Miner. Fourth place GDI Master Ace with 507 achievement points, playing some Vampire Survivors. And then third place, we got Redbeard Rick playing some Stardew Valley. That's awesome. We also have new members of our leaderboard. So I want to give a shout out to HJD 2011 hashtag 5279 for joining our leaderboard. I haven't seen your name on here yet, so that's awesome. So definitely want to give a shout out. Anytime I see new names, especially in the top 5, I'll let you give them a shout out. You guys have to forgive me. I got a little bit of a wheeze going on. I've been out selling my business, pushing mortgages on people. I've been out mingling with the common folks, and I might have a little bit of a cold stirring up. No, I'm just kidding. It was awesome. We did sponsor a couple Santa's workshops this past weekend, and actually this current weekend as of the time of recording. Had a great time, met a lot of people, kissed a lot of babies, shook hands with everybody. It was awesome. We did a ugly Christmas sweater contest. We had some really awesome entrants into the contest. We gave away $100 cash each of the 2 contests we did on Saturday and Sunday. And we had some young people win some money. It was excellent. Seeing smiles on their faces and the surprise when they won. It was absolutely awesome. So heading on over to the Loot Bros podcast True Trophies leaderboard. We got Affectatious Donk. Guys, I'm having a hard time talking. We have the Affectatious Donk. First place, 1,184 trophies. My man is straight killing it, playing some blackjack. That's awesome. Second place, we have Dat One Seagull with 74 trophies. Playing some Star Ocean, the Divine Force. It's good to see you at the top of the leaderboards there, brother. That is the commissioner, by the way, guys. Third place, we have the Steigen Wolf 4 with 65 trophies. Playing some of that Batman Arkham VR. It's really awesome to see you on there playing some Batman Arkham VR. I really enjoyed that game, and I actually have a sealed copy of it. And I've been debating on what to do with it. Do I send it off to get it graded, or do I keep it? That is the question, guys. I've got a lot of sealed games. Should I start getting my sealed games graded and just hold them, or should I sell them? That is the question. In fourth place, we have MZ Nitro playing some Hot Wheels Unleashed. And then we have our good friend Jared Stinkpalm in fifth place with 40 trophies. MZ had 46, by the way. And he's been playing The Park, which The Park is a pretty decent little first-person horror game. It's not crazy horror, but it's not bad. Guys, I wanted to kind of pop in when I'm doing this little recap of everything real quick and let you guys know that I am playing the Callisto Protocol. When we recorded the actual episode, the Callisto Protocol wasn't out yet. I'm playing the Callisto Protocol right now. As a matter of fact, I'm in 7th place on the leaderboard, 19 trophies, and my last trophy was, in fact, in Callisto Protocol. And let me tell you guys, that game's tough. These reviews that are coming out are all over the place. A lot of them are negative. A lot of them say that the combat is the problem. And I got to be honest with you, it's tough. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily a problem, but it is definitely alarming that when you get in the very first hour and a half of the game, you come in contact with like 4 enemies and you die and you die and you die. Like, it is all about dodge, dodge, smack, dodge, dodge, smack. So I'm not saying it's Dark Souls-like, but I definitely am saying that the combat mimics a formula that is not traditional Dead Space or survival horror. It looks a little like something else. So do with that what you will, but it is very, very cool to look at. It is gory. It is a beautiful game. Runs like a dream on PS5. I know that I've seen some tech issues out there. I have the PS4 and the PS5 version. I am very interested to play through this game to completion, and that combat is definitely something. And I found myself in situations where I've just been kind of running away from the enemies, hoping to get. I mean, so far my time has been spent having to actually fight everything, and it's pretty interesting. So, overall, first impressions of the first hour and a half of the game is very high. It's very good. I very much like it. But we will see, because it seems like, from what I've read, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do like it, it's pretty good. So I would definitely be keeping you guys updated. I am very stoked to be playing the game. So we're going to jump out of the leaderboards and head over to the backlog beatdown. Right now, it is just no contest. I'm selling on you, bro, with 172 points, straight killing all the competition. Next, we have CJ Anderson, the Affectatious Donk, with 107. Next, we got Diego with 105. We got Rebby Rick with 101. We have yours truly, Resident Darrell, with 100. I am very surprised that I made it to 100. Guys, no spam this year. And no... I mean, doing a new job with hours all over the place. Like, it's been an interesting year for me, and I feel like I don't get a ton of game time. Now, granted, that's always been my story. You guys know I've been saying that for years, but I feel like this year my game time has been so segmented that it's not something that I really like invest in. It's like I don't get these huge long hours where I get to run into a game and really dive deep into it. I kind of have to do it in small chunks over and over and over. But I have managed to figure it out, and I broke 100 points, and I am very, very pleased with that. Did I beat the amount of games I thought I was going to beat? No. But I still have time to beat 3 more. If I beat 3 more, that's 50 games for the year, and that's pretty freaking impressive. So next up, we have our very own No-Show Joe with 81 points. We have Gaz Davis with 74. We have JT with 65. We got MZ with 47. We've got Jared with 43. We've got Yield with 37. We got Alex with 35. Those two have stayed neck and neck all year, which is very, very awesome. We have Kalai with 26. We got Sadik with 26. We got James the Nerd with 23. We got Tricky with 23. We got Noah the Builder with 21. We got the Bearded Nerd with 21. And then after that, it really hasn't changed in quite a while. So we're going to stop with that. But hey, guys, definitely appreciate all of the efforts, and definitely appreciate it to everyone who has stuck with this. This has been pretty freaking fun. I gotta say, I'm very, very pleased with the way things have turned out this year. Now, I do want to give a shout out to our friend Carl Wakefield and the Autumn Trophy Hunter competition. I've got the week 5 updates that I'm looking at. Now, again, I do not believe the most recent updates have come out yet, so I'm just going to kind of rattle off a handful of people, a handful of names on there. We got Mohamedina looks like is in first place. The Gooner plays in second place, and we've got Mohamed has 37,365 points, and then second place is 32,150 points. And guys, the way things are broken down on this particular spreadsheet is each trophy type has a point value. So you have your platinums have a point value, your bronzes, silver, and gold all have point value, and games have to be over a certain amount of hours to count. So next up we have Crustafitch. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. Yeah, Crustafitch with 14,805 points. They have Mephister with 14,260. Nutty Caramel with 12,980. We have Joe. Oh, I hope I say this right. Joamosta. I don't even know if that's correct, but hey, we'll go with it. We have 10,915 points, and then we'll stop with this next one, Clammy Games with 9,135 points. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down and see if we can find any of our teammates on here. Looks like Red Beer Rick has 830 points. And Resident Darrell has 2,130 points. That's not bad. And I guess the Bearded Nerd isn't even on here. So, yeah. Sucks to be you, nerd. So, yeah, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. Now, I'm not in last place. Nowhere near first place. But I am holding my own. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we'll go with it. But yes, I want to give a shout out for the Autumn Trophy hunting competition. There are cash prizes. There are PlayStation Monies prizes, and it's pretty awesome that this exists. Now, this is not something that Loot Bros is associated with, but I did say that as the updates came out, that I would jump into the show each and every week and at least give some updates. Now, we have the way the updates typically fall after we record. So it just so happens that I'm patching this piece in and I'm able to grab some of the leaderboards. So that is the week 5 leaderboard. I believe the week 6 leaderboard is getting ready to drop. So that's what we have so far. The real question is Red Beer Rick going to get beat by Resident Darrell? It's looking like it, guys. Looking like I'm laying the old smacketh downeth on Mr. Rick. I want to give a shout out to Rick, by the way. He is still streaming and still YouTubing and still rocking and rolling as a content creator. So I definitely want to encourage that type of behavior. Anyone in the Loot Bros family, we definitely want to give you your roses and make sure that you guys get celebrated, because we appreciate you, celebrating and, supporting us. So we definitely want to do the same for you. All right, so one last thing before I switch over to the main show. I definitely would love and appreciate it if you guys could help me out. Go to Resident Darrell on YouTube. I know I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, but check out the videos. And if you don't mind giving me a little subscribe, I would love to get to 100 subscribers by the first of the year. So it is December the 4th as the time I'm recording. I'm going to drop another video here in just a few days. I would absolutely love it if we could get to 100 subs by the first of the year. I would love for this to be a successful standalone kind of thing that I put together. I very much enjoy going out hunting for video games. I love these little challenges that we have going. And I would love for you guys, the listeners, to send in feedback and say, hey, you know what? I'd love for you to do this challenge, do this kind of thing or whatever. And we do run into some actual legit, big YouTubers. Harry Tornado has about 350,000 subs, and he's one of the bigger, reselling outfits on YouTube, and the guy is awesome, super nice to meet. I had the pleasure of meeting him when he was out filming a video, not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, and he was just really cool. And I love watching these videos. I'm very new to them, and there's a handful of people that I follow on YouTube that make this type of content, and it is very exciting, and it's something that I can do with my children. They very much enjoy doing it. I'm getting Zoe her own camera, so we have the Zoe cam. She's out there with me. And we're excited. So it's something that my brother and I are doing together. He's going out there and hunting with me. We're flipping and selling and trading and doing things. And so definitely excited about it. So if you are interested in any of the items that we pick up, I do have links to the eBay store on my YouTube and in the description of each and every episode. By all means, I'm not asking you guys to go buy from me. Definitely not asking that. But if you're interested, even if you just want to see the stuff, as it's listed. Not everything I've purchased has been listed, but yes. And there are certain things that we're picking up and flipping and putting on eBay. And if you're interested just to see, hey, you know what? I saw you pick that up for $1. What do you have it listed for? And just so you guys know how the sausage is made, I don't just make up prices. I just put it on there, and whatever eBay says is the suggested listing based on sold comps, I go with it. Most of the time, I actually go lower if I do, change the price just because I would like, if you have the option to look at 10 or 15 or 100 of these items, maybe if I mark mine down a few dollars, you'll buy mine instead of someone else's. So with that being said, I've only been posting videos on there for about 2 weeks. I do have some old videos that, from before I had, subscribers on the channel. But yeah, so I've been posting videos on there for about 2 weeks now, going into week 3. And we've only got 27 subs, which is still great. So we would love to get to 100. So if you guys are listening to this, Resident Darrell on YouTube, give me a sub. Even if you don't care for the videos, I would love you to at least check it out and give me some feedback. It might be, hey, you might not like this type of content, but you might have just that piece of feedback that I need to get better. So definitely appreciate you guys. I'm going to jump into the show. This is, we start off as a farewell to Kevin Conroy and JDF, Jason David Frank, but the conversation really leans heavy into JDF, so we are going to come back and do an actual Kevin Conroy Batman episode to make up for the fact that we went so one-sided on this one. So thank you guys for all your support, and on to the show.
It's the Loot Bros podcast. We're going to talk about video games and mow your grass. Loot Bros podcast. We're going to talk about butts and slurp and penises. So stay tuned.
Go now, and may the power protect you.
Morphin' time! Tiger Zord!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Resident Darrell, and tonight I am joined by two very special individuals. We have a returning guest, long time no hear from you, nerd named Mark. It's Mark. Lucia, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I know it's been a while. It's been a busy year for me. So
yes,
I kind of went off the grid for about 6 months.
Yeah, getting married will do that to you. So congratulations, brother.
Thank you. I wish I was informed ahead of time about the whole shared accounts and seeing what other people spend. I'm currently at the doghouse because of my comic book addiction.
That's a good reason to be there. So all right, and then yes, like I said, congratulations on getting married. I'm really glad that you now have someone to share your comic books with. If you pass away, she gets all of your wonderful collection of comics.
No, it's in writing. At Viking burial goes with my ship. Just all the comics.
I told my wife I've been reselling a good bit lately. I started off downsizing, and I've just gotten really into like buying and flipping and trading and reselling. And I've always kind of done it to an extent, but never with any real purpose. Like I've always I'll buy someone's game collection. I'll take what I need out of it. I'll sell a little bit. It's valuable. I'll trade stuff to other people. And for me, it's always just been like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But right now, the mortgage business is slow, and the business that we do get is like very abusive and very rough. And it's been some really rough weeks and months in the mortgage business. And so my focus in my, quote, downtime has been like flipping with intent. It's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not making a ton of business. I'm surviving, but I'm not making a ton of money. Like maybe I can move things a little bit. And so I started kind of downsizing in my house and my collection of various things. And I just got hooked. So I've been buying and flipping and selling and doing all this stuff. And then I started pricing out like the collection of things that I will not part with. And we got to the Vita section of the house, and my wife, she just kind of hangs out and follows me around. And she's like, so if you die, what am I supposed to do with this crap? And I said, look, you let the kids have what they want, sell the rest. But the Vita games, they go in the coffin with me. I was like, I want it in writing. I want it signed. I want to be buried with my PS Vitas and my PS Vita collection. I was like, in my Resident Evil games.
It's funny because I have a similar story. Like I never was a reseller. If I bought like a bulk of comics, just that, like I would sell what I didn't care for in like complete runs. And I on the podcast, I even said I'm a hypocrite now. I was always against resellers, but then when I found out like how much money I could make on some of this stuff, so now I'm just like purposely when I'm out, I'm like, oh shit! I was like, that's a chase variant. I was like, how much is that going for? I don't even collect these, but I will sell this.
There you go.
It started with a Cody Rhodes AEW chase figure from like Wave 2, and I just saw it at a Target shelf for $18, and I looked up online and people were buying it for like $350, and I'm like, I'm gonna dabble in this a lot more now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I have not sold any comic books. I have drawn the line in the sand.
Have
that
you
is
given
where
any away?
I've given comics away. Yes, but I
gave
haven't
away a
sold
number
it.
one X-Men when they were what was it, 1992 or is it 90? It's either I think it's 94 or 95 when they redid X-Men, and it was just X-Men. I gave away about 5 copies of those, and I gave one away a couple of months ago to a friend, and I was trying to give away 4 number one Thunderstrike to his son, but he's like, nah, man, he don't need that. And I'm like, well, will he take a Venom number one? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. So that voice you just heard, guys, that is another returning guest. That is our good friend, Thomas Crawford. Welcome back on the show.
Hey, I appreciate you having me back. Thank you for the invite. And this is a very special night because we're honoring 2 very special people, and for many different reasons. And then, just a celebration of not only their life, their legacy, but the impact that they had on us in general. And then, just to talk about, I guess, how you feel about everything that's taken place. And what I mean by taking place is like so many things have happened at once. Like all these these like celebrities just die in like random packs. It's like 7 or 8 of them at a row. Like the one of the singers from Fleetwood Mac just died the other day.
I know. I saw that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I mean, and you know what? And that is why I reached out to you. You know, this particular episode, guys, what we're going to do, this one's going to be a little more free flowing. I mean, come on. It's the Loot Bros podcast. It's always free flowing. God only knows where we go sometimes. But tonight, our topic of the week, per se, is going to be on Kevin Conroy and the passing of the iconic voice of Batman and the passing of Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, like the
Tommy.
Yes, that's right. So what we're going to do before we get into that topic is we are going to crack a toast, celebrate our patrons, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation. And then, guys, I'll come back in later in post and add the leaderboards. I'll add our backlog beatdown. I'll add all of the weekly shenanigans that we find ourselves into. I will announce a few more things, and I will also talk about the new YouTube videos that just dropped. So this week's toast is going to go out. We're going to pour one out for Kevin Conroy. We're going to pour one out for JDF, and then we're going to celebrate our Patreon producers. We have My Name is Mayo. We have MZ Nitro. We have Sadet. We got Redbeard Rick. We got CJ, the Affectations Donk, and we have a brand new patron named Johnny. Thank you guys so much for all of your support.
Who's that?
My turn. Time to meet the Green Ranger.
Also, real quick, while I'm celebrating, thank you guys all for the subscribers on the YouTube. This sounds really silly, but I launched my own personal YouTube channel, and I've got 25 subs on it. 25 is definitely a drop in the bucket compared to what's out there. But for all you guys to jump on there and watch these flea market, these hunting videos that I've been doing, looking for video games and cool video game related stuff, has been awesome. And the comments have been great too. So thank you guys so much for the support. I'm pumping out new videos, and I've got some cool stuff lined up, so we'll see what happens. But we're not going to do a whole bunch of housekeeping here. I'll come back later in the show and do that. Guys, Mark, Thomas, tonight we're here to celebrate the lives and the work of 2 of the, in my opinion, 2 of the most iconic figures in our entertainment medium and our interests in our circles. Like, these guys represent such huge parts of the I don't want to say nerd culture necessarily, but just when it comes to Batman and the green/white Power Ranger, I mean, I would argue those are two of the most iconic figures in entertainment in my lifetime. So I'm going to start with you, Mark. Like, what do you think? Would you rate those two guys as pretty iconic?
Well, 100%, especially for like our generation. I'm turning 37. Batman the animated series and Power Rangers both coming out early 90s. Like, so basically for the last, Power Rangers is hitting its 30th anniversary next year. And Batman the animated series just did as well. So you figure since I was 6 and 7, this has been like more a part of my life than any other stuff, because a lot of shows have come and gone. But like, you think Batman, yes, some people think of the movies and be like, oh, was it, Val Kilmer Batman? No, usually the first name is Kevin Conroy.
That's right.
That's just like how Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Yep.
Like, yes, you could say Luke Skywalker. Star Wars is a thing, but let's face it, it's Batman. And like, for me, especially Power Rangers was a huge thing. That's how I got into martial arts. I have a black belt because I watched Power Rangers. Like, and I've gone to a lot of conventions, and the JDF one hit me really hard. I haven't tweeted about it. I haven't talked about it in any videos or any podcasts since it happened, because me and my wife just met him in September. Like, I was at Power Morphicon in Pasadena. I just met him, and I've met him more than a dozen times at conventions. I've met him outside of conventions, just around like San Diego when he was out for Comic-Con. So for me, I'm like, I've met Kevin Conroy twice, and both of them, like, getting to meet them was like the only time I was ever like in awe and starstruck.
Yeah.
Because, you go to conventions, you see a lot of people. It's like two people who like shaped the entertainment of my childhood and my life. And the Kevin Conroy one was tough, but like, we knew he was sick, things like that. The JDF one was just so out of left field, because it's the prime example of you don't know what people are going through. Because like I said, I just saw him 2 months ago. When his signing line, like when he was supposed to be done signing, he didn't stop because there were still people in line. He stayed an extra almost 2 hours to make sure everyone who was in line got a signature. He didn't want to be like, oh, that's my 3 hours to sign. Sorry, guys, I got to go. It's like, no, he stayed. And he smiled and didn't complain the whole time. And I was just like, it's like, that one hit hard. That's why I didn't even like say anything about it online. So I was just like, I have to process this for a bit.
Absolutely. So then, Thomas, flipping over to you, would you agree that these are two pretty iconic characters in our lifetime when it comes to entertainment?
Well, there's nothing like hearing the voice of Kevin, and he was so different. And what I mean is when Mark talked about movies and he talked about Batman, you talk about Val Kilmer. The movie I think of right off the bat is Mask of the Phantasm, probably the best Batman movie ever put out.
100%.
In that year,
I agree.
They should have gave Mark Hamill a damn Oscar for that performance. That was the best performance ever. And I think even Kevin said something about that performance in that movie changed him as a performer himself. And if you haven't watched that movie, please go back and watch that movie. You will love it. It will stay with you. There's so many iconic lines in it. Mark Hamill is amazing in it, but so was Kevin. And it's the humanization of Batman. It's the best way to describe it. That's the only time you ever felt like Batman was really one of us. He was a man that was just that one little thing could have teetered him back to being just a normal person, and all of a sudden it was lost and just like that. And when it comes to Tommy, because I'm always going to call him Tommy. Okay,
there you go.
When you were saying that, you were 7, dude, I was already a teenager at the time, and like up there teenager, and I thought Power Rangers kind of lame, but then I saw Amy Jo Johnson, and I thought the rest of Power Rangers sucked, man. But then yo, man, the Green Ranger was kick ass, because not only because he's green and green's my favorite color, but he's like
color.
Good looking dude, actually knows like many different forms of karate. I mean, it wasn't just He was an actor. This is a guy who's been doing karate since the age of 4. He knows what he's doing. He actually helped everybody else. I'm sure he probably did most of his own stunts. And this is a guy who kept learning more and more karate as things went by. Like I think he has like an 8th degree black belt, and was it Shinkodo karate, and then a couple of other black belts, and then like I think he also has like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, something like that. The guy,
he has 5 different ones, right?
yeah,
He had 5.
and then not only
total.
that, like he actually fought in the MMA and won. He actually did a couple of other mixed martial arts fights and won. So the guy like was smart enough, like, yo, I won. I'm gonna retire undefeated. Pieces. But he's been like all these different Power Rangers movie, and he's been the mainstay in Power Rangers for like many, many, many years. That's the one thing. It's like I hope Tommy's going to come back. I always hope Tommy's going to come back. And thing is like, dude. Again, I was like an older teenager at the time, but like I was heartbroken when him and Amy, him and the Pink Ranger didn't work out in that letter. It's like,
Yes.
oh man,
the Dear John letter.
Yeah, that was horrible, dude. And like I was like shooken up by that. I was like, oh man. And it's like, it's okay though, dude. You're badass. You'll
That's
get a
right.
kicks.
No relationship ever mattered in Power Rangers, in my opinion, outside of those two. That was the quintessential.
And they actually had real chemistry. It wasn't like something forced of like, hey, this week I have to pretend to be with somebody. It was like, you know what? These two could probably be together, even though she was Canadian. These two could probably be together and enjoy each other.
That's amazing.
And things would have worked out. And I love for the fact that he's from California. He's a laid back, chilled dude. And when you talked about people signing autographs long after people were gone, I'm just going to just swerve it real quick. Shawn Michaels, before he won the championship, I was in New York. I was in New Windsor, New York. I was at the mall, and he was supposed to leave 2 hours beforehand, and he signed every freaking autograph, man. So I don't know what other people's experiences are with Shawn Michaels, but he signed my autograph as a kid. So I love Shawn Michaels, and the respect that he had for his fans at the time. I don't know how he personally felt. He may have been high on coke and trying to get down, but
back then,
yeah, back then. But
yeah,
the thing is, Tommy. Frank, he cared about his fans, and you can see it in every video, man. This guy was always positive, and anybody who is, I hate to bring this up. I'll bring it up a different time at the show or whatever. But if you're suffering with something, or you're going through something, or you're having a form of depression, reach out. You don't have to reach out to your friends, man. Reach out to people online. Any man will be willing to help you. You are never alone. You can hit me up on PlayStation, hit anybody up on PlayStation. Come to my channel, talk to me, whatever. If there's something bothering you, man, we can work it out, dude. There is no reason to end yourself. Period.
You know what? I second that so strongly. And we've had those conversations on the podcast over the years. It's not something that we reiterate often, but man, this situation with him killing himself, dude, freaking stung. And I've said this on the show recently. Years ago, someone had wrote in and said, hey, if you could meet a celebrity, who would it be? And that was who I said, because I've followed JDF for so many years outside of Power Rangers, outside of MMA, I have, and it's because his positivity and the way he treated his fans and the way he did his little vlogs and videos, it was like so genuine and so attractive in the sense that like, this is like a dude that really, really loves the position he's been given. And I mentioned this before last week, whenever he came out that he was a Christian, he was a believer. I was like, and maybe I said it on Patreon, but either way, I was like, that really kind of reignited. Like, I was like, you know what? That's the thing that I knew there was something about his joy and about his like attitude. There was something about him that kind of like grabbed my attention. But then seeing that and hearing the story.
Let me bring this back to Batman, and let me bring this back to the Joker. You're one bad day away from throwing it all away.
From being the villain.
From being the villain, from basically doing something bad to yourself, because we are so emotional as human beings, we lose sight of anything else because we're constantly, being bombarded all the time with different things. And when you talk about Kevin, I always say, I always say Conroy, but I always don't want to say
Yeah.
Conrad. But when you talk about him, his character and his emotions as a character, you know, um, you always felt anytime that he was playing Batman that he was just one bad day away from snapping, but he doesn't snap. It's like in the what is it, the Red Hood movie where he talks about, I've always wanted to kill the Joker, but if I did, I would cross that line and I would never be the same. And when it comes to mental health,
Right.
you know, regardless of how positive or how much of a person you are, you know, anger is the devil's cocaine, and he loves it when you are angry and you're mad. And and regardless of how you see, your spiritual self or whatever, it takes is just one little tap on the shoulder to change you forever, and not in a good
Yep.
way.
Yep. I agree. And that was one of the things that was just so sad to me, because it was like you see that positivity and you see, I mean, I watched My Mighty Morphin Life and I watch his little vlogs, and I watched granted, I don't keep up with it current, but I'll go through like a run of videos on Facebook of him doing signings and cameos. And then just like boom, out of nowhere, he's gone. So just to kind of circle back to what you had said earlier, if there's anyone listening to this show and to Loot Bros, yeah, reach out. You know what I'm saying? If you're struggling, reach out. I have people hit me up on Facebook. Guys, I have people that hit me up on Facebook that I don't know them, but they'll see me posting. I'm going to tell a story real quick. I posted some, it's no secret on this show that I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. And so what I'll do is I'll post every now and again on social media, just like from a picture of our worship service at church. And the church I'm going to right now, guys, the musicians are so insanely good. It is mind blowing. They're so good. Like, I've been to a lot of churches. I've played in a lot of bands. I've done a lot of traveling. I've played hundreds of shows. I've been around musicians my whole life. These guys are so incredibly good. They'll take a song and do a rendition of it that it's like, I know that song, but just the way they present it is so incredible. So what I'll do is on some Sunday mornings, I don't do it every Sunday. I'll just take a picture of the worship service and just post it. Like, man, this is hitting. This is incredible. So I've had people reach out to me on Facebook, and they don't share the same belief system that I do. And they've reached out to me and expressed their depression, expressed their alcoholism and their coping mechanisms and all that stuff, and I'll tell anyone that I come in contact with, whether it's through social media and Facebook, through posting about church, whether it's just having a conversation about video games and Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and Batman on a podcast, guys, if you're struggling and you reach out, I'm saying, I'm available. Thomas, as I said, he's available. I mean, like, Mark, you've got your crew of people, you've got your audience, you got people you've been dealing with.
I know get emails all the time, especially when this JDF thing happened. A lot of us were in Discord together just talking about it and everything else. We're just like, yo, this is
account for 75% of suicide rates. So we're told all the time we're alone. We're told all the time that, hey, man up. The thing is, we do man up, and the thing is, we man up a little too much, and that's the problem. The problem is that we get so caught up in ourselves of like, hey man, we got to be the toughest SOB, we got to be blah blah blah, rather than realizing, man, just talk to somebody. Just being able to talk to somebody. I ain't talking about paying somebody to psychoanalyze you and tell you that, oh well, you should let your wife sleep with random strangers. No, psychopath. No. How about this? How about I basically talk to somebody who, shares the same interest as me in video games, or same interest as me in WWE, or, some form of wrestling whatsoever, or just interest. And then basically we just have a talk about, things that excite us or things that keep us going, and then try to motivate somebody to go on. And because look, every day you get up, and I'm talking to anybody out there, you get up, you put your shoes on, you go to work, do a job you don't like, or actually maybe do something you don't like, you are a hero to somebody, because you're taking care of your family, you're making your world better. And you may say, oh, well, I'm just doing this because, my comic book collection or whatever. No, you're not doing it for your comic book collection, bro. You're doing it because you love yourself and you love your life. Life is too precious to throw it away over nothing.
That's right. That's right. I second that. I don't think I could have said it any better. So that's awesome. So guys, if you're listening and you're struggling, reach out. You know what I'm saying? That being said, we're here to celebrate. We're here to talk about the influence and the excitement that these two gentlemen brought into our lives. And so I was going to start with Batman. I mean, we kind of highlighted it, but I think we've already found ourselves leaning hard on JDF. So I'm gonna switch it around, guys, and we're gonna talk about JDF to start, and then I'm gonna sample in the show. I'm going to sample in some clips and some sound bites and stuff like that for from Power Rangers and from Batman, some fun and iconic lines and sound effects and things of that nature. And but I just kind of want to start with you guys, and we'll just go in order like we did before. Martin, then Thomas. Like, what was your first experience with the Green Ranger?
Green with Evil, Part 1.
Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny, like. So I've been adamant on the internet, like, especially in recent months, like with the anniversary and like the newest seasons of Power Ranger stuff, getting back into that scene and that like community. Like, I wasn't actually a big Green Ranger fan. I like Tommy. Green is one of my favorite colors, but like I was always like a Blue Ranger fan. But like going back we actually recently. Me and my wife, we rewatched the 1995 movie that was in theaters.
So good.
Great.
God, that was so good.
Yeah. And so watching it, and I was just like, all right, I was like, I got to rewatch the show again. So over the summer, I actually just went through the first 3 seasons into Zeo. So I was like, I'll be watching it. And I was like, man, this, like, just from Tommy's character, I didn't realize he had so much like really like deep character arcs in there. Like he even had his real life like brother playing.
Yeah.
In the, I was just like, I didn't notice all that. It's like when you're a kid, you don't get the nuances of it and everything. But like going back as an adult, I was like, I thought this was a kid show. I was like, and look at these like messages that are included. It's not just let's get around bullying's bad or do your homework messages. It's like there's messages about finding out who you are as a person and where you come from and your roots. And I'm like, it was always tied around his character. And then I forgot JDF came back as Tommy with a doctor. He was a doctor later on. I completely forgot about that. And I was like, it was an anniversary season and just like watching all this stuff. And I was like, man, like going from as a kid when like Green Ranger came out and like, I don't know, like all the toys, because I recently also watched this Netflix show, The Toys That Made Us, and they had a Power Ranger episode. Yeah. And I forgot how hectic it was when Tommy's character debuted and that merch came out, how bad Toys R Us were turning, KB Toys were turning into. And like there's this long overall like longevity of that character, because Thomas brought it up about, and you did as well, Darrell, about him and the fans. But where all the other actors try to move on from Power Rangers, he never like shunned that side of his career. He was never like a lot of the actors I've met, a lot of them, I talked with a lot of them, and you see interviews where it's like they kind of wanted to shy away. It was almost like a black eye on their career because they just wanted to like be serious actors, so to speak. But it's like he never turned his back on that. He brought when he went to MMA, undefeated, 3-0. The first fight he had, the guy mocked. It's Morphin time. He's like, I'm gonna knock out the Green Ranger, and he knocked the guy out first round in under a minute.
Yes,
he did the running knee. And then he won another one by tap out the set. But he was always like, even with his trunks and his promotional shots, he would have a Green Ranger helmet with him or a White Ranger. He was constantly, so he was reminding everyone in all these other meetings, hey, I was a Power Ranger. That's not something in my career that I hate. He's like, yes, that's why I'm where I am. And he even says it in all his interviews. Like, he does it for the fans and that he actually like enjoyed everything. It's not something he regrets or wish he didn't do.
Right. Yeah. He's proud of it, man. And I think that's why the character stayed around. That's why he was in the comic books. That's why he was Lord Dracon. That's why his image is synonymous with Power Rangers.
Fun thing that you brought up, Draken. Did you know he funded most of that for the video promotion that they made for that? He actually paid for most of that out of his own pocket. And he actually helped with Kyle Higgins' come up with the idea for how they were going to film that special. He even was the special contributor and person they talked to when he got his own Soul of the Dragon trade paperback. Yeah. So he wasn't just an actor playing that role. He knew that character. He not only was like, oh, I'm just reading a script. Like, no, he embodied Tommy. Tommy was an extension of him, which is why it resonated with so many people.
That's right.
Why, he cared enough. Like, let's face it, filming a commercial is not cheap.
Right.
And then he did all the stuff with Bat in the Sun.
Oh,
and then he had The Legend of White Dragon, which is still coming out next year, that he put a lot of his own money into, because when he does something that he believes in, he puts everything into it, which I can appreciate.
Heck yeah. All right, Thomas, what about you? When did you come into contact with the Green Ranger?
I'll be honest with you, man. I was dating this one chick up in New York at the time, and it just happened to be on in the background while I was trying to get some tail. And
So wait a second. When Rita threw her wand down, when she said magic wand, make my monster grow, it was actually making your monster grow.
I was
pretty much, man. Girl.
Make my monster grow!
I need Dragon Sword power!
I believe the girl's name was Carly. Carly something. I can't think of her last name, but she's a redhead. She's from Seattle, and it was really weird, man. Because I was like, "What is this?" Because usually I can't stand that type of show, because I used to watch Inspector Man back when I was a kid, when we were still in TBS. Yes, I used to steal cable as a kid, But Inspector Man was basically, I guess, the American version or the Korean knockoff version of Ultraman. So anybody who knows anything about that, look that up. But yeah, it was on in the background, and I saw the Green Ranger, and he was kind of mean. He was kind of like, but he was kind of like a badass. Like, chicks digged him. Like, dude, that's a cool dude, man. And all of a sudden, I started watching the what I consider a kid show, because I'm like either 17 or 18, probably 18. I'm going to say I'm 18 or 17, and I'm watching a kid show, and I'm thinking, dude, I like this guy. And I started watching the show because I thought it was kind of lame, and then I said, this dude's cool. And his arc, just like Mark said, his arc was amazing. He wasn't presented as, hey, don't do drugs, man. Don't do X, Y, Z. And then all you can think of is the South Park episode of like, I'm doing all the drugs I can because these people are lame.
That's right.
But he was a down-to-earth character. He seemed real. He didn't seem phony. And the one thing I can say that most stuck out to me is I just like how he came off, and it looked like he was doing real martial arts, which apparently I guess he was trying to do real martial arts in the actual show. And that really stuck out to me, man, because I've always loved the martial arts since growing up as a child, and I boxed myself. I always tried to do karate, but I was like, I don't know. I didn't have the discipline, but I had the discipline for boxing, if that makes any sense. But no, I just loved the Green Ranger. I don't know what it was about Tommy. It just, and then of course, Amy Jo Johnson. If you didn't love Amy Jo Johnson, you should probably rethink your life.
I still love Amy Jo Johnson.
Dude, she's unbelievably gorgeous. Tell me you're beautiful without telling me you're beautiful 30 years, later, when you're still like, it's like, it's like, the MILF for like, like the crush you had as a little boy. It's like when I was a little boy, I used to have a crush on Madonna. And hey, I was like, like 7 or 8, but she's like, 30. And like now, like when I see her, I'm like, no. That's a crush I can pass on, but I still won't sell my Hayek. But I'm assuming everybody else does too.
I'm about to say she doesn't age, so she found the fountain of youth.
Yeah, she did.
So, but yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like I was watching a video with Amy Jo singing the other day, and she looks the same. Just, I mean, you could tell she's older, but you could tell she still doesn't wear a ton of makeup. And that was the thing about that character that was so impressive at the time. It was, she wasn't portrayed as some Barbie doll. You know what I'm saying? She seemed very plain
this
Jane.
is why you probably
wholesome
like plain
girl
Jane
next door.
girls yourself, is because you don't want to deal with a girl who wears a ton of makeup. Because I don't want to wake up. I don't want to go to bed with Padme, then wake up with Darth Vader.
There you go. So
I was gonna make a joke, but my wife can hear me, so I gotta make it at least 1 year.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, make it that first year. So my first experience was the airing of that first episode, guys. I watched Power Rangers from the beginning. I was elementary school, middle school. I was that prime demographic. I'm 38 years old now, so
Yeah, you're like
whatever
second grade then.
Yeah, whatever time it came out, I was coming home and watching the afternoon, TV shows like you normally would. Power Rangers came on, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" It is, and I was raised in a home. My father owned a video store back when that was a viable business model. So watching movies was like our family thing. So my dad worked a ton of hours throughout the week, and then on the weekend, it was play sports outside until the evenings. And then we watch movies and play video games until, we crash. And so my time with my dad was watching kung fu films and watching horror movies. So this was right up my alley when it came to, the fighting. And I was big into the Jackie Chan films. And, that was back when Jackie Chan couldn't speak English. So it was just, you'd watch stuff come over, and my dad loved kung fu films. And so when this show came on, it was like, whoa, this is a show with fighting in it. This is awesome. And the putties were goofy, but yet like the perfect bad guy fodder. And then you had, cool monsters. And I was raised, like just grew up some of my earliest memories are watching Godzilla, the old Godzilla films. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, wait a second, you have these giant kaiju fights and fighting. Like, this is amazing. And it was for me, it was all my favorite things. So growing up, I had all the action figures. I had the Power Rangers gloves that made the noises. Like, I had the Megazord, like I had it all. And when the Green Ranger came out, like that was the culmination of all of my favorite things. And just that iconic whistle blow when he pulls his dragon dagger out and blows in the flute and makes that noise and summons the Dragon Zord. Like my brother and I, which he was much young. I mean, my brother's 4.5 years younger than me, so he was like really young when we watched this. But we grew up watching Power Rangers, and then when the show would go off, we would have you guys remember the first series Power Ranger action figures that you push down on their belt and their heads would spin over?
Yeah,
and
the morphing ones.
Yeah, the morphing ones. Yeah, and like they re-released those not too long ago, and those things were.
I bought all of them. The new ones. They had them in Walmart for like $8.
Yes,
I bought all of them.
Yes.
I couldn't not get them.
They're so cool, man. So cool. So yeah, I mean, I was inundated with it, and it used to be a thing. So when like all the neighborhood kids, when they'd come to my house, we would all have our Ranger gloves, and it was always a fight over who's going to be the Green Ranger and who's going to be the Red Ranger. Now, for me, I like Billy. I like the Blue Ranger, like you said earlier. It's funny that you said that because I'm a Donatello fan. So like Donatello being kind of the nerdy Ninja Turtle with the bow staff, and then Billy being the nerdy Power Ranger. Like those, I really like those two. But like the cream of the crop was JDF, man. Just Tommy's the Green Ranger. And then when he became the White Ranger, and then when the freaking movie came out, like you mentioned the movie earlier, like going to the movie theater with my family. You guys remember how much merchandise came out with that movie?
I have most of that merch still.
Oh my gosh, Burger King was doing stuff. They had the cups, they had the little morphin coins. I mean, they had the ninja action figures.
Yeah, they had those the 12-inch ones that came in like the triangle boxes with the plexiglass front.
Yes. So it was awesome, man. It was awesome. But that movie still holds up today. Like my kids just went through in the past couple years, went through a bit of a Power Rangers phase. And so we watched all the episodes of the first season. I bought the movies. I bought Turbo. I bought the 95 movie with Ivan Ooze. Oh my gosh, dude. That was so freaking good.
The soundtrack was so good that I actually, she's listening. I don't care. I got them during the wedding song stuff to play Van Halen's Dreams. And he's like, that's such a great song. I'm like, I know, it's on the Power Ranger soundtrack.
Dude, that's one of my favorite songs of all time, dude. I mean, I'm a Van Hagar fan, where my wife is a Van Halen fan because she only recognizes David Lee Roth. But that is that's one of my favorite songs, man. That's a great brand.
And everyone was asking me, like, you picked that song? Like, yeah. They're like, oh, it's such a great, like, my dad and everyone, like, oh, you like power ballads or something? Like, I know, right? It's on the Power Ranger soundtrack. And I kept having to say that to multiple people. I'm like, yeah, that's why I chose that. I'm like, yeah, it's a good song, but it's not the Power Ranger soundtrack, and I don't think she's gonna let me play the heavy rock version of the Power Ranger theme song. But yeah, no, that's Thomas brought this up. When you saw it, like doing real, like JDF did do all of his own stunts and all his own martial arts, because I've seen the Japanese inspired Sentai for this called Zoo Ranger, and the Green Ranger was only in it for like 3 episodes total. So they didn't have a lot of footage to use. So he did a lot of his own stunts, and they were able to milk, the Green Ranger as much as it, because in the Japanese counterpart, literally the Green Ranger's barely in there. That's why the Dragon Zord entering always looked the same. And he was always in similar areas using the Dragon Dagger at first, because he wasn't, after his first run, before he came a good Green Ranger, that was supposed to be it, but he was so popular and he was so good, they brought him back as the Green Ranger, as a good guy. And it messed up a lot of Saban's plans for how to use the footage, because they had no more. And that's why abruptly he was gone, and then they brought him back as the White Ranger, which was also equally as hard, because that White Ranger was from a completely different series. So anytime you saw the White Ranger suit with the regular Power Rangers, that was all him in suit, because they didn't have any footage, because those were 2 different seasons. So he did so much work.
Man, it was worth it too. It was worth it. I got to say, when he became the White Ranger, I mean, I thought that my hype level and my love for the character was I didn't think I was going to be able to like anything more than the Green Ranger. But dude, that White Ranger suit was just like sheer perfection. Everything about him being the White Ranger was just amazing.
In the build up to Billy going through the vents and seeing like the little suit being worked on, and then he came down from this light from the ceiling, and I'm like, the hype level is ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous. Nerding out so hard as a kid, man. And just everything, that whole era of Power Rangers. And I've gone back, and like I said, I've watched a lot of it. I haven't watched everything, but man, that first initial run, was it 2 or 3 seasons before they changed?
It was 3. It was like almost 3 seasons until it was like, then it went to Zeo.
Right,
where he became the Red Ranger. But yeah, it was like 2.5, 3 seasons.
What's your favorite Power Ranger game?
Okay, on Sega, there's 2 versions of this. There's a Power Rangers one where you actually could be in their civilian forms and then morph. But it also and it was like, Streets of Rage, side-scrolling, beat 'em up.
Yep.
But it also had Zord fights. But then, no one ever talks about this. On the Super Nintendo, there was just a straight up fighting game with the Zords and everything.
And I had that one. That was awesome. Love that one. My favorite one was the Sega CD, which is basically you're just playing like parts of the TV show, but it was still fun, man, because you got to play with all the characters. And even though by today's standards it looks like trash, because I just recently played it about a month ago, coincidentally enough. It's just like when I was playing it originally for the Sega CD, I thought it was just like a super cool game, because hey, I'm actually playing these real characters. And it's like, again, this is when you thought the Sega CD was something amazing, but it was just really it wasn't.
Yeah, I love the Sega CD, by the way. Freaking, was it Sewer Sharks? Yeah, that game was dope.
Prize Fight.
So, yeah. Then what was that? It was an Eternal Sonata. Was it Eternal Darkness was on there?
No, it was Eternal. No, Eternal Champions. It was a fighting game.
Yes, Eternal Champions, the fighting game. Yeah,
Sega regular Sega cartridge, and then they did put it on the CD, and it was like a Street Fighters edition. And speaking of games, man, they should redo that in the HD and just bring that back and have Sega have like a good fighting game. that was a cool fighting game. Not to get off track, but that was a cool fighting game.
Well, to circle us back around, because I do agree that was an awesome fighting game. But like, I wanted to jump in on that question that you asked, Thomas, on the favorite Power Ranger games. So that one, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Super Nintendo, was definitely like the one that came to mind first. And I have you guys played the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid?
Oh, I love that game.
It's so really, really good.
Is that a card game?
It still was getting support too.
No, it's a 2D side scroll fighter. Like with a really competent story with Tommy, JDF as Lord. Is it Dracon or Draken? Is it Draken? Draken, Lord Draken. Yeah, it's
he did the
really,
voice
really
for all
good.
that too. The campaign.
Yeah. Now I would tell you what was not good was the Power Ranger game that came out on PS4. That little 4-player side scroll beat 'em up.
You didn't like that? I mean, it was grindy for the levels, but I thought it was kind of cool.
It was fine. The problem I had was I tried to play it with my son, and he just could not get the quick time down when we had the Megazord stuff, and that really, really just made it very difficult to play with them. But I wanted to beat the game with my kid,
Just like they had the Stowed Canyon High 3 kids and like Zach, Billy. So it's like, oh, you could have, Rocky as the Red Ranger or Jason as the Red Ranger.
Yeah.
Jason will never be the Red Ranger. He's always green or white.
Oh no, I meant Jason. Not Jason.
The actual,
Austin St. John is the actor.
The original Red Ranger.
Yeah, the OG.
Didn't he kill some people?
No, that was was it like? No, I don't want to listen. People, do not get mad if I get the season wrong. I didn't watch all the seasons because I got shit to do. I think it was not Lightspeed Rescue, because that guy's cool. He was on that TV show Slasher, that Canadian horror show. He's a good actor. It was one of the later seasons, and he basically, it was kind of self-defense and like drugs were involved, but like he accidentally kind of sort of stabbed his roommate with a
killed his roommate,
with a sword.
It was Ricardo Medina Jr. was this guy's name, and it says it was in self-defense.
Okay, what type of sword was it? Was it like the sword from Highlander, or was it the sword from like? I mean, was it a claymore sword? I mean,
it was. I think it was smaller than a claymore.
Wow! It says that there was one of them was convicted of a triple murder.
When he killed him, did he cut off his head and say there could only be one? And then all of a sudden, Queen's played in the background.
No, there's no Duncan MacLeod or Princes of the Universes. So, sadly, that is a great song.
I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs from Queens ever. I wish I could have played that at my wedding.
I couldn't. I didn't even like want to push it.
So I just pulled up an article from 2008 where a former Power Rangers actor was convicted of a triple murder.
Oh, geez.
Skylar Dillon or Dillon, Deleon. I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter.
Yeah. But no, there's
a rabbit hole.
Yeah, right. Oh no, listen, that we're barely on top of the iceberg. Yeah. Like there's a whole deep dive, like dissertation. I'll send you a link to my PowerPoint presentation.
Gotcha. So going back real quick to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Sega CD, like that was the one that had like footage from the game and from the show, and you actually did like almost quick time, like to fight putties and stuff. I remember that one. That was
my another good one that a lot of people probably don't remember is right when Zeo started after Mighty Morphin. Regular Power Rangers, they put out like a Mario Kart game. So basically, it was like it was
Battle Racers, or something like that.
Yeah, think of just Twisted Metal, but with Power Rangers before Twisted Metal was a thing.
Oh, I gotta look that up, man. That sounds good.
And it's not good. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's not good. But like, because I collect a lot of Power Ranger stuff, so I have a majority of the video games, even if I don't have the consoles to play them. Like I have the Sega CD one, which can't play because mine's broken. But I didn't realize how much stuff we got back then for Power Rangers, because like when you're a kid, you're just like the new toy comes out, and you kind of like forget about the toy before. And I was doing some research because I recently started getting back into collecting more stuff, vintage toys from the 90s. So like trying to find Power Ranger stuff and Street Sharks and Reboot and Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, stuff like that. And I didn't realize how much stuff got released from 93 to 95. And it's almost like the point where I just want to like call my parents and apologize for how much stuff I made them buy me. Because because when you're a kid, you're like, oh, do action figure? Oh, what's action figure? Like $2, $4, or $5. No, when I saw the prices of what they were even back then, I was like, wow. I was like, I was a horrible child. I was a bad offspring.
So do you guys remember Power Rangers Dino Thunder on the GameCube?
Yep. It was also was it on PlayStation 2 or PlayStation also?
I think so. I have it on GameCube. I still have this one. This is one of the few Power Ranger games I still own. It's so funny because
correct?
Dude, honestly, I don't remember a lot about it. I don't think I ever beat it. So, I just remember getting it. I wasn't crazy about the Dino Thunder time frame.
This one,
that season.
It was basically, remember the PlayStation 1 like Beast Wars video game? It's kind of like that. You play as the Zords the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like third person over the shoulder. And you like, it's somewhat platformer. And then there's boss battles. I have it on PS2. But yeah, I remember that one. That one was, it was kind of fun, but it was that weird phase. It was that weird phase of graphics in platformers where they just were clunky to an extent.
Yep. So, but yeah, that's one. It's so funny because myself and our co-host, Zach Ledford, the Bearded Nerd, we've been doing these challenges, right? So for the past couple months, we've been challenging each other because we both collect and flip games pretty regular now. And so we were like, hey, we did a challenge in October to find a spooky game, scary games, right? So the most valuable scary game for less than $20. Okay. And then in November, we did a $1 video game challenge. So who can find the most valuable game in the wild on film for $1? Or you can trade up and things like that. So we did that for our respective YouTube channels, and we just kind of like issue these challenges back and forth to each other. And one of the things that he's doing personally is he's collecting one of every Power Ranger game in the wild. And I thought about doing a monthly challenge with him, where on one of our challenge, like not December, because December we already have lined up, but maybe January or something, say, hey, who can find the most valuable Power Ranger game in the wild for less than $20? We like to put like a monetary cap on there so that we're not just running to the local game store and buying the most expensive thing we can find. It forces you to go and look and be creative and to wheel and deal with people. So I don't know. I might now that this has happened, all this has taken place. Maybe I will move that up to a little higher up on the list. And so because
you got to plan yourself a trip out to San Diego then, because I got a place where you can find a lot of vintage toys and games, and they have a whole entire wall of Steelbook Blu-rays.
Oh my gosh!
Go to the best SeaWorld.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So it's
go
nearby.
to the best SeaWorld. They have a really good SeaWorld there in San Diego.
We do. Traffic is horrible over there, but I actually live near there,
awesome,
and it's actually a pain.
Yeah, heck yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so definitely, I guess the big takeaway on the games portion of this conversation is go play Battle for the Grid. It's an excellent fighting game. I actually have a copy of it sealed in the box that I will probably never open, and especially now.
And I will say also, with Battle for the Grid and also JDF, if you're not a big fan of the comics or the Boom ones, there was a whole thing called Shattered Grid where Lord Draken, which was a different universe Tommy as a villain.
Yep.
This game plays the whole entire story arc of that comic out with him voicing Draken and pseudo narrating it as well. And as someone I still collect the comics, issue 102 just came out, so 102 issues deep. I will say, even Tommy on the comics has been really good, but his portrayal doing the voice of Draken, narrating it, I didn't think it would be that good because the comics were really good. And very rarely do I say this. That video game adaptation of it was almost better than the comic.
It's very good. I haven't read the comics for those, unfortunately. I do own some, but I don't have like a full run. But dude, that whole story arc of him as Draken and everything is awesome. And Thomas, I don't know if you've played this game yet, Battle for the Grid, but like you have like Green Ranger Tommy, you have White Ranger Tommy in there, then you have evil, Draken Tommy, and its representation of the Power Rangers in general is really freaking good. But those particular characters, and it's on the Switch. I don't know if you guys are into that.
I have it on the Switch.
I will look into it. I do have a Switch. I just haven't yet to look into it. I will look into that.
Yep. It's funny because I'm sitting here looking at it right now on eBay, and it's reasonably priced, but I'm like, man, that needs to be on my list of games to find in the wild. I need to find myself a copy of this on the Switch.
They treated it kind of like a Street Fighter situation where we got the regular physical release, then the deluxe edition release when season 1 DLC was done, then we got the super deluxe after. And because I'm a completionist, like you like to hunt games down, I have a physical of each one.
Yeah.
I shouldn't, but I do.
So it's funny because
what's your favorite Power Ranger song out of all the Power Rangers? What is your favorite Power Ranger song from all the different
good
versions?
question.
What is your the song that sticks out with you that you can sing in the shower without and not missing a beat?
Green Ranger Go.
Yeah, I was gonna say from just a song, definitely go Green Ranger Go. But from a theme song, man, that Zeo one starts off so good with that harmonizing Zeo where they're like almost like gospel style that the guitar kicks in. It's like, oh. Although none of their theme songs ever have any good breakdowns in them, so that's
you are correct on that one. So yeah, I'd say Go Green Ranger Go is like the one that just sticks in my head all the time. Like when I think about Power Rangers, that's the one.
Yeah. The movie one is still really good with that guitar solo, though.
Yeah, that is true. I will say this too. When I think about Power Ranger songs, even though it's not a Power Ranger song, but that Keep on Rockin' song in the Power Rangers movie, the 95 movie where everyone's on their roller skates.
Oh yeah.
It's like
wasn't that a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover of Higher Ground? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Higher Ground. Like, because I was like, I know the older version of the song, and it's like, that's Red Hot Chili Peppers doing a cover.
Didn't they also have a Christmas special as well?
Yes, Alpha's Magical Christmas.
Oh, I don't know that I've seen that.
I have a copy of it on VHS.
Whoa.
As well as the Green Ranger's martial arts instructions, 2 VHSs where he actually teaches you some fundamentals and basics of martial arts.
That is amazing.
The Alpha's Magical Christmas, though, they saved Christmas, obviously, from a monster that was trying to ruin Christmas.
When you talk about Christmas, I can't help but think of what would you need for Christmas and what would look good on you, or basically what would look good in a stocking stuffer. And speaking of which, what about stocking stuffers?
I think that is a excellent question. And as far as stocking stuffers go, you can head on over to the Loot Bros StoreFrontier and get yourself a nice Loot Bros t-shirt for a very, very reasonable price. I often say on the show that our t-shirts are marked down as low as they will let me do it. We do use a third-party print-on-demand shop. And if you look into the show notes on any platform that you're listening to the show, you can find a link to our StoreFrontier and get yourself a Loot Bros podcast shirt. You can get yourself a Loot Bros Comic Cast shirt that, hey, our good friend Mark over there has been a guest on multiple times.
Yes, I have.
And you can get the latest Loot Bros Poop Sock shirt, which we should probably do a Christmas version of that. A poop stocking shirt. So, all right, guys.
That was a really good segue. I almost ruined it. Really I was like, why are we talking about sock? I was like, well, I mean, depending on the size of your the Christmas stocking stuffers, I mean, you could fit like one of the more Super 7 reaction figures in there. They're only like 4.5 inches tall.
Now you're from California, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now the Red Hot Chili
I live
Peppers. Here. Okay, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, since you brought them up earlier, they actually had I don't know if it was an album color, but I remember reading a heavy metal magazine back when I was in Texas, and they were being sponsored by Metallica, and all they had on was socks on their private
Yep.
areas. And it was
Yep.
probably like one of the coolest things ever that this band just happened to have on socks on their private areas. And it was just like so weird. And then every time I think of them, I think of I'm gonna bring this back to video games. Beavis and Butthead, when they did the Beavis and Butthead movie, and they did Roller Coaster.
Roller Coaster.
Yeah, that was
another good movie soundtrack.
Yes,
Yep.
and that Sega Genesis Beavis and Butthead game was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, when you have to get the Gwar tickets.
Yeah, so good.
But yeah, I'm trying to think about that. Like now, I'm like caught off guard, and I'm like, okay, what was that album? Because like I'm a huge fan in a lot of their
To my Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think it was an album cover. I know it was they did a magazine. I don't think it was an actual album cover where they did that.
I thought it was the actual cover that they actually did that as well.
I don't know.
I know that they played live that way a bunch. So
Flea was very
yeah. He was all about
adamant.
showing the dingus.
Yeah, constantly. But yeah, no. Actually, because he's brought up California, I actually went to the fictional area where the Angel Grove was located, which is up in the like, LA area. Because I was just like, I lived out here almost a decade, and I was just like, that's one of the spots I want to go to. And I'm like, hey, look right over there. That's where they fought this. And I was like, they kind of kept it still the same. They've modified the park. There's more like playscapes, but they kept it nice and clean. You could see some of like the direct areas where stuff was filmed.
Didn't they shoot some of that also in Knott's Berry Farm as well?
Yes. Knott's Berry Farm got which I actually was just there a month or so ago.
I love Knott's Berry Farm, man. So beautiful, so awesome. Do they still have the Tijuana taxis?
They do.
Yes.
At least I think they still do. I'm not 100% sure, actually.
I fell asleep on those.
All right, guys. Well, Mark, you touched on it earlier. The Power Rangers comic books. I would like for you to, in my opinion, are going to be the expert on the Power Rangers comics, but I would like for you to just kind of dig a little bit deeper into JDF's, appearances in there and the character of Draken, and just, I know you've kind of danced around it based on our other. But like, give us a little bit more info about that one, because man, that was just such an awesome portrayal of him.
So, 2015 is when the Power Ranger comics started. It started with Boom Studios. They were like, at the time, they were considered an indie studio. They didn't really have much, and they brought in Kyle Higgins, and his first thing, they stuck with obviously Mighty Morphin. It didn't have Tommy right off the bat. They kind of treated it still like the show, but they took a little more liberties with fleshing things out. Down the road, we got, how Marvel does like Civil War. They need these big crossover.
The big
there's
events.
nothing. So what they did was they did something called the Shattered Grid. They went into something called the Morphing Grid, which is kind of like where all Rangers of all the seasons and universes like draw their powers from. And they gave us this mysterious villain, Draken, who looked, from a suit standpoint, it's a hybrid of the Green Ranger and White Ranger.
Yep.
Kind of like the Bat and the Sun suit, if I've ever seen those on YouTube, where they did like Ryu versus Green Ranger and this and that. So it was a hybrid of that. And basically it was an evil Tommy from another universe where he never got defeated by the Power Rangers. He never turned on Rita. And he technically did, but he never went to the good side, and he just started going. He basically was universe hopping, stealing the powers from other Power Rangers. And it wasn't just Mighty Morphin. Like, he was going into like the Power Rangers in Space, Lost Galaxy, all these different seasons. He was going to their universes and destroying them, taking their powers for himself. And he had Finster working for him, who was making basically a morpher that would combine those new powers in. So actually, over time, his character's suit would change. And it would change color and get.
He was the owl from Batman who had the little thing that was going into different multiverses and basically destroying them.
Basically.
Yeah, he's the Batman who laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would almost say that old Scott Snyder and them might have stole some liberties from the.
They probably did. I mean, It would make sense. But yeah, and this led to, him coming to current universe where Tommy was. So we got cool showdowns of, this evil Tommy who would actually tell him about this, whole other universe where it's like he didn't become weaker. He got stronger. He didn't rely on the other Rangers. And a lot of people always talk about Draken, but they don't also say there's a Ranger Slayer. We got an evil Kimberly also.
Yep.
Because they kept their dynamic from the show and fleshed it out a lot, like better in the comics. But it was a long arc, and I tell everyone, like, I have friends who read it and they haven't read since that one ended because it's kind of like the MCU type of situation. The end game comes out in theaters, $1 billion. We all go see it, and it's just like, what's next? It's like, doesn't matter. Like, this chapter was closed. I have closure on this story,
Yeah.
But they continued the story with Tommy. In the comics, he's the White Ranger now, but they brought in someone new who I'm not going to spoil. That's a new character that is actually the Green Ranger as well, because they obviously brought Draken back as kind of like an anti-hero for a bit. Because, why not? But and I tell everyone too, Shattered Grid was really good. Obviously, Battle for the Grid is a good way to get the story from it. But there's this isolated story called Soul of the Dragon that he was a consultant for and helped flesh out Tommy's character in this for, which takes place way in the future when he's a lot older. Think of Logan, old man Logan, but for Tommy. Yeah.
Yes.
Where he's going through, I'm not like, this is on the cover, so it's not really, there's points where he's going through and using his different morphers to try and fight to get where he's trying to go. So one point he's, the Green Ranger, then he's, the Zeo Red, then he's the Turbo Red, then he's the Black Dino Thunder, and then the White Ranger. Like, he goes through all these different forms, and he's going through all his powers. Like, all the coins have are cracked, or they don't have as much power because it's been so long, and he's not a Ranger anymore. And he's just it gave me Logan vibes, like the movie. It gave me 100%. And I was like, this is
dope, man.
And no one talks about it ever. And I'm like, God, like what made it great was he was the consultant for that. He knows the character. He tweaked some of the dialogue, and he's like, Tommy wouldn't do this. He would do that. And it's like, he knew, like, start to finish.
It's him. It's because it's him. He embodies that character.
Yeah. And there's very few people who from an acting standpoint, you could say that for. Like, I'll say, there's names that are not like, you think Indiana Jones, it's Harrison Ford, or Kevin Conroy, Batman. But there's very few people where it's like, not just Green Ranger. You think Power Rangers, and it's Tommy.
Yep.
People who don't even watch anymore.
The only one who
years.
embraced it more than anybody else, who loved it more than anybody else. Because a lot of child actors, even though he wasn't a child, but a lot of people who take those roles say, "Oh, I'm so disgusted by it. It was just a stepping stone. It meant nothing to me." But day one, man, this guy was down. Day one, this guy was chill. Day one, this guy was like, hey, I'm going to make this my own and own it. And this is like anybody who goes into a job and, like, it's that first year or that first, let's say 30 days, you're like, and you're all excited, like, I'm going to own this job and make it mine. Of course, life and soul crushing hopes bring you down. But
yeah, that's right. That's me in the mortgage business. Just having my soul crushed over and over and over.
The only Ranger I put an asterisk next to, and I don't give them any grief for them kind of turning their back on being a pirate set, is Austin St. John, who played the original Red Ranger, because a lot of people don't know this. He became a medic in the military and was deployed overseas in Iraq and this and that. And because I met him in 2015 when he just started doing convention tours again. And he was like, yeah, this is what I did for 6-7 years. This is where I went. This is what I chose to do after. And it's like, respect. I can't even. I was like, no. I was like, nope. I was like, I have no negative things to say, even if with current issues going on, over the summer. I was like, nope. Sorry, he did that by choice. He could have rested on his money and royalties, and he chose to do that.
Yep. I watched a video where he, spoke after JDF's death, and he was just like, I know it's no secret that we weren't friends. Yeah. But, basically this sucks and, all that stuff. I didn't realize there was beef between them. Like, I think I read something about it, but I never really got into that.
It started, and that's one of the reasons why 3 people left the show, because of money. They wanted more money, and the people who stayed on the show were happy with the amount that was offered. they wanted more. So it kind of became one of those things like, well, you know what? These we have, 4 out of 3. We have these 3 over here that are going to stay. It's like, they're selling more toys. We could recast these other 3.
And so is that what happened? He got
it started his
recast?
money. Yeah, that's when
okay.
Rocky took over as a Red Ranger, and then we got Johnny Young Bosch, who took over as a Black Ranger, who I think is like my second favorite person to be powered because he's done so much voice in Bleach, like all the like any anime you could think of, he's done a voice for it. He's a huge voice actor now.
Dope. All right, so what I want to do now, guys, is I want to kind of get into some of the post Power Ranger stuff with JDF. Okay, I know we've spent already the majority of our time talking about JDF, and you know what? That might be what this whole show turns into, and then we come back for Kevin Conroy on another night. But for me, I fell out of Power Rangers once they got into space. Once it was Power Rangers, I think Turbo I watched for a little while, Power Rangers Space, I think Zeo, somewhere in there is kind of when I kind of faded out. And then as Tommy would come back for various roles, I would kind of pop back in.
Oh yeah, I was saying.
And so I kind of lost interest there for a while. Plus, some of the enemies got real goofy for a while there. Like I thought Lord Zed and Ivan Ooze were like the pinnacle of bad guys until Draken. But
that was good.
Yeah, but that being said, the post Power Ranger stuff with him in the MMA, that's kind of where I want to go to next, and then we'll look at Bat in the Sun and Bloodshot and all the other stuff. But when he was in the MMA, I really was just like so thrilled that he was in there. Of course, he's been doing his training, his fighting, his various black belts, martial arts stuff. But then when he branded his Jesus Didn't Tap, brand of clothing, and was really getting out there with that, and one of the I cannot stand CM Punk, guys. Like CM Punk as a wrestler, CM Punk as a human being, like. Granted, I've never met him, just the interviews and just the cons and the things that he's done. This is one of the most entitled human beings. Like when he speaks, it just frustrates me to no ends. And I can't stand him. I didn't like his character. I never liked any of the arcs he was in. When I would go to wrestling events and he was the main event, I would leave. Like he was the champion during the Mark Henry Hall of Pain run, and it was him and Alberto Del Rio. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here. I freaking left. I can't.
I kind of agree to extent, except like I've met him a few times, and honestly, like I liked his Drax run when he wrote Drax, and I did like his Thor one shot. So I was like, and his forward in Avengers vs. X-Men was pretty good. Like I was one of the things where it's like, I don't like his attitude and how he presents himself. So I agree. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, like those were some good runs. I kind of wish if he stuck with it, it would have been good.
Yeah, I didn't read his stuff because I can't stand the guy. But I will say this. I thought it was absolutely amazing when he went in to get in the MMA and JDF called him out, and he was like, hey, I'll fight you. And then, of course, he blew him off like he was too big to fight a Power Ranger. But dude, and JDF was like, "I'll fight you for free. I'll fight you for charity." Like, and it was just one of those things where I like, this is my childhood hero calling out someone I can't stand in professional wrestling. And then I was like, please, God, let him fight.
With Punk, you got to understand. Punk has always been a scumbag to his fans. And this is more truth than anything else, is that when he was just a civilian and he was no longer wrestling, he didn't go back to AEW or anything like that. Every time a fan saw him, he would blow them off, ignore them, tell them to go F themselves, all types of
cuss at them, all that stuff.
Cuss at them.
That's weird because that's the only time
anytime he went
in
to
between those.
Anytime he went to like because he's a big fan of the Chicago Blackhawks because he goes to the Blackhawk games, and people would see him, he'd be kind of a d-bag about it. And I understand you're out there with your wife and whatnot, but still, you can just say, hey guys, if you can get me next time, I'll be more glad to sign stuff for you or be cordial to you. And then sometimes it depends upon, I guess, where you're at. For some people to be nice and other people, but. Let's take and I'm an old person, so I'm going to an old trope, and I love the Yankees, even though I'm from Houston, Texas. Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio has the greatest quote of all time, and I think Kevin Conroy Conroy, it was like this to an extent, is that this may be the only time someone can see me play baseball, so I'm going to play my hardest and be the best I can. And then I'm going to try to sign every autograph because maybe that kid can only afford to see me that one time. And that's where Tommy, Jason took it to that level. And I think that his excellency, his humbleness is what made him so great. And that's what makes me think of Joe DiMaggio, that that kid can only afford to see me that one time. So I'm going to be as nice as I can. I'm going to put on a show for them, and I'm going to give everything I got rather than be like CM Punk, where it's like, hey, I don't care if you paid a ticket because I'm just, I'm entitled, and screw you. I get my money regardless. Oh, you're a fan? Go F yourself. Did you buy anything from me lately?
Yeah.
The difference,
yeah,
difference is that he was a humble man, and like you said, he waited hours when he could have just said, "Nah, I'm done," but basically took care of every fan because this may be the only time someone can afford to go to that Comic-Con and see him.
Yeah, there was several interviews that he did, that Punk did himself, where he was just like, you know what? Yeah, I have cussed out and shouted out my fans because they interrupt me at dinner with my wife and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? To his credit, he was one of the most requested wrestlers to return. Like, this dude was millions and millions of dollars just sitting, And the problem was he just had just such a rotten attitude that I couldn't. I've never liked him, but I did a little bit of reading, and I read some of the quotes about JDF and CM Punk, and there's a picture of them at a con together posing, but it's one of the things where CM Punk had said at a panel that he would fight JDF. So then JDF was like, well, let's go. Let's get it going. Let's sign a contract. And then, of course, I listened to the interviews where Punk was just like calling him a stalker and calling him, what are some of the other words he called him? I'm looking now. He called him a joke. I'm reading one of the quotes right here, but I remember that. I remember him saying that he wasn't going to fight a Power Ranger, and the dude was harassing him essentially. And I'm like, dude, you just freaking joined the UFC and said you would fight this dude. And then when he called you out, you're like, oh, you're going to do that. He's a stalker. He's harassing me. I wanted those two to fight so bad, dude. I wanted JDF to freaking knock that clown out so bad.
Hell, he made him tap.
Yeah, it would have been awesome. But I don't know. Did you guys, I know, Mark, earlier you said that you followed his MMA career. Thomas, did you follow JDF's MMA career at all?
Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to see those except for on YouTube, but I did get to see Punk get the hell beat out of him. And plus, he was in a couple of UFC games. So I've beaten up Punk numerous times.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to do that.
That's right. Heck yeah, dude. CM Puke. So I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. All right. My uncle, we used to every wrestling pay-per-view before the WWE Network existed. My whole life, we would go to my uncle's house and he would buy the pay-per-views, and we'd pitch in, we'd bring food, whatever. And then every now and again, we'd do WrestleMania or something at my house. But for the most part, we would really do the pay-per-views at my uncle's. And every single time CM Punk came out on screen, he would go outside, smoke a cigarette. Like, that was when he left. I can't stand CM Puke. If I ever saw him in real life, I'd slap a taste out of his mouth. Like, my uncle hates that man so bad. And it was hilarious because, growing up in a wrestling family where like wrestling is the central sport that we watched. Right? Like not my dad, but my uncles, my aunt, my cousins, and my brother and I, like that was what we did. And it's so funny, like watching like how Triple H losing a match and then CM Punk coming out on screen. Those would ruin my uncle's day. Like that I freaking hate wrestling. I'm never buying another pay-per-view. It was pretty incredible. And that's another thing too, Thomas. You had posted a video just of JDF and he just him with the wrestlers, and man, I'm telling you what, dude, this guy, he was everywhere. Like, for him just to quote be a Power Ranger, he was everywhere in all of the different types of entertainment that I enjoyed. So I never got away from the guy.
Especially he did stuff with like Up Up Down Down with like Xavier Woods and them, and they even have their gear for the last year or so.
Yeah.
They've been having like the White Ranger. Like, no, he's been in so much stuff. Like he's ingrained in a lot of like, I guess like the different. That's why like people remember the OG Power Rangers from like 93 to 95 because that was ingrained in pop culture. Yes, the shows have gotten more higher production value than that, but they're not memorable. They don't have like I can't name more
But
than
you
two
said it
people
best.
from.
Pop culture.
Yes, it was like they had parades. Remember they had that huge parade like in '94 after the first season, and they broke up, like, let's just do a big parade in New York for them. It's like, sure. I mean, we still have the Red Ranger every once in a while as a float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Days parade.
Yep.
Not any of the newer ones. It's always the like someone from Mighty Morphin, and it's like, and most people are like, oh, why not the Green Ranger? Or they're like, was that or another question? Was that the one that was Tommy? Even people who don't know, who have never seen it, know who Tommy is and know who the Green Ranger is.
That's right. It's because he's the iconic one. So I want to jump into the superpower beatdown, Legend of the White Dragon, all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
These superpower beatdowns, these, Green Ranger versus Ryu and the White Ranger versus Scorpion, all that stuff, man. Those were so freaking good. Did you guys, I mean, obviously, Mark, you had mentioned earlier that you watched them. Thomas, did you ever watch any of the superpower beatdowns with JDF's characters?
I kind of feel
I
like,
think he's muted.
do you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, man. Basically, after like the White Ranger, I was kind of done because I was like an adult, and I was kind of like my whole life went around me going to bars and just hooking up with random chicks on the weekend. So I really don't have much to say on that. So that's one of those things where I really can't tell you much. I can tell you a lot of things about when it comes to Street Fighter in general, because I played every Street Fighter game that ever existed. I'm looking forward to the new Street Fighter 6. But speaking of Street Fighter and speaking of stats, what about this weekly stats that you have going on between you and many others?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. We have various different weekly competitions we have with our leaderboards. Okay, we've got our PlayStation leaderboards. We have our Xbox leaderboards. And if you want to be a part of those leaderboards, you can join at truetrevies.com, trueachievements.com, set yourself up a nice little profile, link your socials, join the Loot Bros podcast leaderboards on each of those sites. And then each and every week, I read out usually the top 3, top 5. You might get your name read out on the show. So jumping back into Superpower Beatdown, Thomas, I'm actually going to send you, I'm going to Google it right now. I'm going to send you some of this stuff because, there's this production company called Bat in the Sun, and they come up with these really cool who would win scenarios between this particular character and this particular character. And like, I watched like a bunch of these, man. I watched like Wolverine versus Wonder Woman. I watched obviously Ryu versus Green Ranger. I watched just some of their matchups are freaking awesome. And anytime they put on the Power Ranger stuff, dude, I mean, it's so good. And like the White Ranger versus Scorpion is one of my favorite ones.
Oh, that one was so good.
It's so freaking good.
There's a footnote to the Bat and the Sons. That Green Ranger suit was so popular and so well done, and obviously JDF put his input into it. It's canon. It's amazing. A canon suit now because that's the suit the new Green Ranger in the comic wears, as well as Battle for the Grid.
Yes,
it's a version. It's the V2 suit, so it's canon that is the version 2 Green Ranger suit, and that's obviously a suit he helped design, and he also helped with the fight choreography for it and his input. Like, I don't think there's any. There's very few actors out there who have played iconic characters that know them so well that they are trusted that they can give input on what they think that character would do, and it would be accurate.
Yep. So, Thomas, I actually just sent you the link to the Scorpion versus White Ranger, and it's awesome because JDF is in there, and he in the video he has his input on kind of how these things will work out. But it's the particular superpower beatdown theme is just, it's really cool because they do, they're essentially high-end cosplays where they have battles, and the production just seems over the years to get better and better and better. And this is the closest thing we'll ever get to like these huge crossovers, and then just again having JDF get on the screen, do his thing, do his signature taunts and stuff to get his daggers and everything. Man, it's really good. It's really, really good. I've followed this particular, I don't want to call it a program, but I followed this channel for years and years and years. I've been watching these forever.
Let's see that one, and because I like mashups and like verses of like multiple. So like that channel and the epic rap battles of history.
Yes,
those two channels.
Yes. It's so funny. It's freaking epic rap battles of history. So
the Jack the Ripper and Hannibal Lecter one is still like my favorite. I've watched that so many times.
I'm assuming Jack the Ripper wins.
Hannibal, I think, does in that one. He did such a good job. I don't even know who wins half of them. Just like, this is good.
It's awesome, man. I'm telling you, I got this. I just have this particular fight rolling in the background now, and it's good, man. It's so good, so good. But all right, so Superpower Beatdown, guys. If you haven't watched it, definitely go check it out. If you're a fan of the Green Ranger, if you're a fan of the White Ranger, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. So I'm going to kind of move on to just kind of post JDF, post all of the characters that he played, and just let's kind of talk about the person that he showed us in his vlogs and at his cons. Now I know we've already kind of mentioned it, so I won't spend a ton of time on there. But I want to dial back to a story I've told recently on the show, and I started off talking about it earlier in this particular episode. This is the only celebrity I ever really wanted to meet, and unfortunately I never got that chance. I never caught a con on the East Coast that he was at, although he did come to cons over here. It's kind of one of those things that you don't realize you don't have tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I'll see him eventually, I'll catch it.
Yeah. Cause he's only 49. So it's like,
It's sad, man. It really is. And so unfortunately I never got to see it, but like I said earlier, I've followed him on social media. I've watched him all these years and how he interacts with his fans and how he treats people.
But you're rooting for somebody to succeed because they are a good person. You're not rooting for somebody because they're just some celebrity that thinks they're bigger or better, or they're some smug jackass.
Correct.
You're rooting for somebody because you seem like he's a nice guy, seem like he's a nice person. And let's not forget, he has his own personal dojo and his own form of karate that he teaches in Houston, Texas. So how many kids' lives will he change and help just from doing that work that he did? I mean, this guy has touched so many lives, and he will continue to touch lives long after he's gone.
Absolutely, dude. And I watched so many videos from his dojo and so many of his vlogs and just the interviews. And dude, it's sad. And so that's kind of where I want to lead us to, is just to kind of talk about that impact, because I've mentioned several things that I've seen and heard, and the inspiring conversations that he had. But at the end of the day, no celebrity death, I will say, with the exception of Chris Farley, no celebrity death has ever made any real impact on my life. Like, I've followed, a lot of various people over the years that I've enjoyed their work, but like, at the end of the day, it's like, what, we live, we die. That's the only guarantee that we have, right? That and taxes. Yeah. But this dude, I mean, that was a mainstay. That was a regular in my rotation, of content. And not only for him to pass at a young age, but then to pass at his own hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stung. And when my Facebook feed filled up, guys, like, I mean, it just constant post after post after post. And every day, I watched part of his funeral the other day, and I was like, man, this sucks. This was sad.
I could have sit through it, honestly.
I couldn't either, man. I watched a little bit. As a matter of fact, I was in between some of my calls and meetings for work, and I was like, you know what? I got about an hour and a half. Let me knock out some Patreon content. And I had a couple topics I wanted to do some recording on, and I'm sitting there just kind of getting geared up, and I'm writing down some of my thoughts and kind of like what I want to do. And I was just kind of scrolling through, and I saw some of the live footage from part of the service, and I'm like, man, this sucks, dude. This is sad. And it got me down a rabbit hole. I've been watching videos from, again, more so recently because it's fresh on my mind. But, like I watched him sign his original Morpher the other night on a Cameo video. And I watched him sign his Morpher and then sign the pin that he signed his original Morpher, and just telling the story behind the Morpher. And he just seemed so like genuinely excited about what he was doing, dude. It was really tough. That stung. This whole process has been, I would say as impactful as it could be for me.
But if you're struggling, man, it's really difficult and very hard to open up to anybody, especially when everything depends on you. And this is the same thing that we have with Robin Williams, where Robin Williams was a super happy, a super good guy, and a super nice guy. But we didn't realize what he was struggling with behind the scenes. What, like I said, every day we all have some form of depression, man. And it's sad that, he had to go, and we were all pretty bummed. I know as much as you said you were watching it, I couldn't watch nobody be put in the ground. I couldn't even go to my grandmother's funeral to watch her put in the ground, or even see her in a casket, because it would hurt the memories I have of her. And I don't want my last memories to be her in the ground or me seeing her in a casket. I want my last memories of her telling me that she loves me and she's smiling and, she hugs me. So when we're talking about, things that we love, and let's just be honest, man, Tommy was a hero to a lot of us. He was like the big brother that, that you wish that you had, that would come save the day for you in some form of a way. And when we don't open ourselves up to say things to certain people, to our brothers, to our sisters, man, like literally, my brother lives in Miami. I gave him a call the other day out of the blue. I maybe talked to him 3 or 4 times a year. I said, hey, man, I just wanted to call you and tell you I love you. And he said, man, I had a bad day at work today. I wasn't feeling good. You don't know how much that meant to me. And I know I was going to call him and tell him I love him, then ask him for tickets to Universal Studios, because he has like a membership to the Hogwarts thing, and I plan on going here soon because I want to go to the Harry Potter world. But I didn't even ask him after that. But still, it's one of those things, man, just being told by somebody, that you love, someone in your family, or just someone reaching out to you, say, dude, I don't know you, but man, I love you. We're all brothers here. We're all brothers and sisters. There's nothing can be accomplished through hate. All we can do is try to love each other and be better to each other. If you live with hate in your heart 24/7, try to change that bad behavior, man, and correct yourself. And again, if you're having problems, dude, you can follow me on my Twitch account. It's SaberRider13. You can hit me up on my PlayStation Network. It's just BCCR. You can hit me up on my Xbox. SAB, it's just Saber13T. And if you send me a message and you want to talk, man, and I'm free and I'm not doing something with my child, man, I'm more than glad to talk to you and try to get you straight. I'm not Andrew Tate and trying to get you to buy a Bugatti or anything like that. But I want to make sure that you happy, and look, everybody just has to find something that centers them and makes them happy.
That's right. That's right. What were you getting ready to say a minute ago, Mark?
Oh, no, well, Thomas brought up, I was going to, because you brought up, the last time, like a celebrity death, like Chris Farley, like for me, Robin Williams, 8 years ago, this past August, like that is another one that like hit me, because like, and it made me realize too, like, I was, in my 20s and this, that, but it's like those things where it's like, you don't really realize all these people who, they might be acting happy and you don't know what someone's going on. Like that, like I said, that the Robin Williams one caught me off guard. Kevin Conroy did catch me off guard, but as well as things like we knew about his health issues. Whereas JDF, it's like I said, I just saw him in September. Like, I was like, or at the end of August, early September, and it's less like smiling, happy. Even when he ran into like other cast members like Walter Jones, who was Zach, the first Black Ranger, this and that, he was, hugs, saying, I missed you, haven't seen you in a while. Like all these people catching up, like Bulk and Skull, Jason Narvey and stuff, they were there too. It's like, so just seeing like, how happy and everyone just like, it's like, you don't realize, hey, there's everyone's inner demons are there. And he was, I don't want to say good at, but he was always keeping the public visual opinion up and always being like, okay, let me make the fans happy. This, that. Like, you wouldn't know looking at him and talking to him that anything was wrong. And even when you talk to him, he's like, where'd you come from? Oh, that's cool. Bad traffic, like this, that. And you're like, oh, you'd start asking him. And he's like, he'll turn around on you and be like, how are you doing? Like, oh, thanks for coming. I appreciate you being here. Whereas everyone was like, oh, thanks for signing this. He's like, no, thank you for showing up. Thank you for spending money to come here. Thank you for waiting in this long line. And it's just like, you son of a bitch, why are you so nice to me? I was like, I'm not CM Punk, do I gotta fight you? Like, why are you being this nice? Like, just a stand-up guy. Because like I said, I've met him since 2007 or 8. I've met him at least minimum once a year at a convention. Minimum. So it's like, I bumped into him a lot. And one of my favorite stories was, so in 2015 or 14 for San Diego Comic-Con, I just got laid off. So I was trying to find a job, and I got this job at like a tourist trap hammock store right by the convention center. And he actually came in with his wife and his daughter. And it's like one of those shops where you work by yourself. You don't have other people. It's a little like hut, I got hammocks, like, meh, and a cash register. That was it. And I was just like, I know who you are. I was like, and I'm like, here I'm at work. I was like, and I told him, I was like, oh man, like, I'm not going to bring attention. I don't want anyone to bother you. It's family time, this and that. It was like really cool to meet you. I met you a couple years ago, actually, at a convention. And he's like, how's it going? I'm like, oh, good, just working. I was like, how are you enjoying San Diego? This day? He's like, I love Southern California, this, that. He's like, you want a picture or anything? I'm like, no, you're the family. He's like, I don't mind. I'm like, you're with your family. Like, no, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to impose. He's like, it's not. He's like, you're a fan. Like, I wouldn't be doing this stuff if it wasn't for people like you. And I'm like, God, you son of a bitch, you're gonna make me cry at work. I was like, I'm an adult. I can handle this. And I'm like, just one picture.
Just one, just real quick. Oh, dude, that's again, like I said, not having that right now stings.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, the whole time I'm like, because I don't like to bother people in public, celebrities or anything. It's, going up to LA a lot, this, that, I don't bother anyone. And it's like, I was just like, hey, just cool to meet you again. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like, and I'm like, just go shop, go do your family stuff. Like, don't, like, you've already wasted 95 seconds talking to me.
Did he buy a hammock?
I think he got one of the chairs, the hammock chair, because we had like hammock chairs and like other hammocks, this and that. I think he got the chair, actually.
He was so starstruck.
You should have had him sign your own chair.
Yeah, sign a chair and steal it.
I'm not like the bump into someone public signature type. Like when I met Kevin Smith a few times when I was up in New York for Comic-Con, I met him outside of the convention, just around the streets and stuff like that. And I was
Did you punch him for fucking up a He-Man?
This was way before that. This was 2015, so it didn't happen yet.
Okay, he hadn't messed with He-Man yet. All right.
Yeah, he should have preeminently punched him in the nuts for that.
I should have did it for Future Mark, honestly.
That's right.
But no, like, I don't like doing the whole like asking for signatures in like a public setting. Like, I'm a wrestling fan, just like Darrell. Everyone's. I'm not the type that's going to go to the airports and be like, oh, the wrestlers are coming off their plane. That's right. My shit. Like, no, I'm like, I will get my photos and signatures from you in an official signing and this and that, where it's not imposing your personal time. But for him, he was just like, no. And I will say, him being funny and goofy and everything with his daughter, for TikToks and this and that, is how he is in real life, because that's how he was while he was in the shop. There were no cameras, there was nothing else. He was just shopping, and I was like, yeah, that's him. I was like, this is stand-up guy. I was like, he's just like me. He's just like us. He wears shoes.
What type of haircut did he have at that time? Was he rocking the mohawk at that time, or was he
No, this was
rocking like
before.
a regular cut, like a crew cut?
This is what he had the short hair. Yeah, this is what he had the short
Yeah,
spiky
the crew
hair
cut.
with the soul. I think he was doing the soul patch at the time. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
this was
Rocking the Durst.
Yeah, because he didn't start doing the mohawk until a couple years ago, really fully.
All right, so let's jump into one last thing. One topic that I did glaze over. Did you guys ever watch the Ninjak Valiant Universe where he plays Bloodshot?
That will be a no from me, sir.
Okay.
Try to like jog my memory.
I mean,
So,
I may have watched a porno parody, but that'd be about it.
Was that the was that the No, that wasn't.
It's production wise, it's very similar to Bat in the Sun, but he plays Bloodshot in the Ninjak universe. And so I don't know if there's a complete film of it. I've only watched clips on YouTube, but his Bloodshot was so much better than Vin Diesel's Bloodshot, and it was getting worked on about the same time that one came out.
Oh, yeah. No, I have seen this. I just pulled up like, wait, I was like, this looks familiar.
I'm gonna send you a link to this one too, Thomas. This right here. This is just some clips from it that I googled real fast. But I remember when this was being filmed, and he was going around and talking about it. And of course, when Bloodshot was being like marketed, it was like, hey, you already got a Bloodshot. Arguably, in my opinion, the better Bloodshot. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Vin Diesel just fine as an action star.
Look, I like Vin Diesel on the toilet. Okay, Vin Diesel's on the toilet, and he's run out of toilet paper, and he's like, hey. Can somebody give me some toilet paper? And they bring it to him. He puts his hand out and it's like, family.
That's right. We do it for family. So, but yeah, I just sent you a video of JDF as Bloodshot versus Ninjak in the Valiant universe. It's really awesome. It's really awesome. So I just didn't know if you guys had seen that, because I watched that entire production run and the promotional run he did leading up to and then post release on this. And it was cool, man. It was just him doing behind the scenes. And that was one of the things I like so much about the guy is he did so many behind the scenes, things for the fans. It was always something going on where it was like, hey, man, let me take you guys behind the scenes of this. Let me show you how I'm getting my makeup done. Let me, my Mighty Morphin life, his little, essentially reality vlog that he did. So it's cool stuff. It was cool stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to touch on with JDF.
I didn't know Sean Morrison was in this.
Yeah. This is after his WWE run.
Yeah. I know he did a lot of weird stuff in that time frame for filming.
Yeah. Parkour.
Like a Hercules movie that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
he did the parkour Hercules movie.
So, but yeah, it was good, man. I overall, I'm a huge fan. I will definitely be spending the next several weeks, maybe months of my life going back through some of this guy's work. Not that I didn't already frequently watch his stuff, but right now I'll definitely watch more of it and just kind of, as it's fresh, kind of replay through it. So
he did a lot of stuff that I don't think a lot of people realize, even past Power Rangers.
Yeah, he really did. He really did.
But he never
did
forgot
an MTV
where
series.
he came from.
Yeah,
that's right.
I remember when I was starting to get in my early teens, high school. MTV had this very raunchy show called Undressed, and he was on that as well.
I never watched that, but I do remember the logo for it. I do remember it being a thing.
I dated someone who was into a lot of MTV shows, so I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, oh look, it's Tommy. I was like, I don't think I've seen this episode of Power Rangers.
I would have loved him on if he was on the Real World or Road Rules Challenge. That'd have been great. He would have kicked the shit out of a lot of people,
especially when they started doing the celebrities and stuff on there.
Yeah.
Darrell's favorite wrestler was on a season of that.
Which one? CM
CM
Punk?
Punk. Yeah, he was on the pros versus champs season.
Ugh.
He was very whiny on that. Hey, if you want to see him lose in challenges to like regular people, it's worth watching.
I might have to watch that. I would love to see. I mean, yeah, God, dog, man. That dude freaking sucks.
He
All
did the
right.
voice of Poseidon in Smite. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either.
Man, I'm gonna have to do a whole retrospective of his career.
There you go. It's funny because I'm over here watching. Like I'm just while we're talking. I've got 3 monitors in front of me, and one of them's just running B-roll of just JDF stuff. So, guys, here's what we're gonna do. All right, we're about an hour and 45 minutes into this conversation, and I know we started this off with the intent of going into Kevin Conroy and JDF. But we're going to put a plug in it here. We're going to stop right there. We're going to come back maybe next week, maybe the week after, whatever y'all's availability is. We'll message after the show. And we're going to come back and we're going to dig into the Batman portion of this particular topic because I do feel like we could go on equally as long on Batman and how iconic that was. So I do just kind of want to break us at a good point here and say, Mark, Thomas, thank you guys so much for coming on here and just having this nostalgia trip and kind of celebrating the life and the accomplishments and there's the entertainment value and just the stuff that we all got from the Green Ranger, Tommy. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming on here talking shop with me. Thomas, I know you've already shared your Twitch, name and all that stuff. Is there? When did you stream it? What does your schedule look like for that?
My thing is, man, mine's very funny because I'm currently working on Evil West and Sonic Frontiers. But basically, it's just whenever I have time. So if people end up watching me, I'm probably going to end up switching to YouTube because that stuff stays up there longer. But it's just one of those things, man, where I have this child who requires all my time. So if you see me doing something and I'm not talking, that's usually my child playing. If there's an S by any of the titles, that's something that a 4-year-old is playing. So I'm sorry, and I apologize to anybody if you watch like someone just sit in one place for a very long time because I'm usually falling asleep because I am tired because I'm chasing around a 4-year-old and I'm an old man.
There you go. Awesome. We'll definitely be checking out Thomas's streams. Mark, what have you got going on lately, and where can the listeners catch up with you?
Well, I'm still really original, so everything's still a nerd named Mark. I still have the podcast going strong. I've been expanding the YouTube more, so now I do the video versions of the podcast, and also I am now dabbling into more of tokusatsu stuff, as Darrell brought up Godzilla earlier, and Thomas brought up Ultraman earlier. If you like that kind of content, you'll like my YouTube channel because I talk about Godzilla,
Mark, I have a question.
Ultraman, Kamen Rider, all that stuff. Ooh, questions?
Yes. Now, when you talk about Godzilla, did you watch the original Godzilla cartoon with Godzuki, his son, and it had like the ultimate freaking theme song? It's like Godzilla. It's like the music's really like really violent. It's like dun dun dun, dun and like it goes and Godzuki. It's like very light and breezy.
Never outside the only Godzilla cartoon outside of the newer anime ones. The only thing I watched was, and everyone hates me for saying this, the very well made sequel to the 1998 Godzilla movie, the Godzilla cartoon show that was on Fox Kids.
Oh, and another anime you should want to watch. It was called it's about these demon creatures, and I'm trying to think the name of it, man. I'm trying to think of it. God, I just had it in the tip of my tongue. It used to come on TV, and it was weird because like you had one of the demon creatures that would like if it touched you, it would turn you into like a zombie or like into like a demon slave. And then like one, I mean the whole show was just messed up, man. I gotta look it up, man, because it's crazy.
Yeah, would you find the name of that?
Yeah,
you had me at demons and zombies.
And I mean, well, I'm gonna look it up on my phone because I've been trying to get the because all it is in VHS. They don't even have it on like any DVDs or anything like that. And it used to come on all the time back in the day, back in the like early '90s, and it was just so weird for the sake of being weird. But with Godzilla, did you play the Godzilla game for the PlayStation 4? That was unbelievably just boring as can be. I actually gave it away to a friend for next to nothing, even though it sells for $300 on eBay. I gave it to him for like 40.
I have the digital copy of it because I have a factory sealed physical version of it.
Dude,
okay,
I sold my
forever.
copy. I sold my used copy for $154.
I found this from someone who didn't know what they had, and I paid retail for it.
That's
Wow.
And I was just like, don't mind if I do. Yoink. It's like, there's nothing to see here. Just, and I go home and I'm like, you're my precious now. You're up there with my copy of Suikoden 1 and 2.
That's amazing.
I
Yeah, I sold my sealed copy of Parasite Eve 1 and my copy of Godzilla on PS4 all within a week of each other, and that is what really got me into reselling. I'm like, man, I got Godzilla in a bundle. I paid $100 for a PS4 with like 10 games, and Godzilla was one of them. Sold it for $154, and then I picked up a sealed copy of Parasite Eve at the flea market. Now, this was years ago, before the gaming used market got so inflated. But I paid $20 for that thing, and then I just had it on my shelf with all my Resident Evil and Silent Hill stuff. And then I was like, you know what? If it was a open copy, I would keep it and I would open it and use it if I needed it to play the game. With a sealed copy, I'm like, I'm never ever going to open this because it's sealed. Therefore, right now, when it's worth $338, let's just go ahead and sell it.
I have sealed the limited edition Dreamcast Code Veronica Biohazard.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. That's worth
I have
too.
I have my, it's not sealed, but it's still near mint in the box. I also have Operation Raccoon City.
Yes.
But the Japanese version, the Biohazard.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, because obviously we're Resident Evil fans. So
yep. I got the first,
I have a lot of Resident Evil stuff.
I have the first 4 games. So I got 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica. I have the Japanese versions. And then I was going through my stuff the other day when I was cataloging everything. This is really off topic, but I found that I not only had multiple copies of Dead Aim, I had multiple copies of Outbreak 2. I had multiple copies of. I have a lot. I did. The only thing I don't have is Gaiden, the Game Boy Color game. That's the only one that I cannot find. I don't have.
Yeah, I don't have that either. There's a few I'm missing. Like, I can't find one. Like, I don't care if it's sealed or not, but I'm trying to find a Japanese version of Revelations for the 3DS. Like, for a good price. I mean, import price. It's so small, but import prices, this and that. And then I thought about sending some out to get the games graded when they're factory sealed, but then I'm like, do I trust sending like a $400 game out? Like, I barely trust sending my comics out to be graded.
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
Yeah. No, that's really it for stuff, honestly. Just the Toku stuff. I like my Toho, and that's like I kind of like cut back on my social media, which is why like no one's really heard from me because I don't really use Facebook as much. That I'll tweet here and there and like just when content's live, but kind of got antisocial for a while. So I was like, let me just focus on content, focus on reading comics, and just not spending so much time in front of a computer or on my phone. I have a nice weeby bookshelf full of manga now in my collection that I'm reading and this and that. I'm like, I had it in comics, and I'm just like, I got Marvel Unlimited, so I went back and started reading some older runs like freaking old Daredevil runs and this and Punisher, the stuff. Like, I'm just keeping it myself, and
there you go.
Doing the podcast still.
Every now and again, man, it's you got to just kind of decompress. You got to turn off the screen and you got to do your thing. So awesome. Well, it looks like we lost Thomas. It looks like we got disconnected, but that's okay. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, Thomas, we know he knows that he's appreciated.
I'm here.
Oh, you're okay. You're good.
Yeah, I see the line.
It says you're offline for me, so I thought you got.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, "What is he looking?" Because I see a green button. I was like,
"No, I'm here."
No,
am I in the right group?
No, on my screen right now, it when we were talking, it went red and says you're offline. So, but anyways, we're gonna get out of here. So, Thomas, thank you. Mark, thank you, guys. This has been the Loot Bros podcast. We will be back. We'll get the crew back together and we're going to talk Batman, Kevin Conroy, and we're going to go into depth on that one. Hopefully the Bearded Nerd will be here because he really missed this part. Unfortunately, he got called into work. So All right, guys, I'm going to end the show. Instead of a song this week, I found this video that JDF did about a year ago. And it's a very inspirational speech, and it is extremely unfortunate that all the positivity in this message, and then where we're at today. So, but I think it is super, super important. I think this really sums up the type of person that he was, at least with the fans and at least with the people that followed him. So I hope that you made it this far, and I really hope that this, is a little bit of motivation for you. So definitely appreciate you guys for sticking with us. And I hope that you enjoy this.
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, be who you want to be. Follow your dreams, not other people's dreams. The most important thing is that you have to remember you're only worth as much as you say you're worth. Tell yourself, I am the best. Tell yourself, I can. And never use these words, I can't. Because if you use the words, I can't, you will never succeed. People have the wrong impression about success. Success is not measured on the amount of money you have. Success is not measured on how much money you have in their pocket. Success is measured on, are you happy in life? Are you happy at your job? Are you happy in your relationship? Are you happy with who you are? Because if you're not, you need to change it. No one else. Remember, the words you speak control your thoughts. Your thoughts control your body controls your actions, and your actions become your characteristics. It's very important to believe in who you are and follow your dreams. Who cares what anyone else says? Everyone says, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a ranger. I couldn't film a movie. I couldn't succeed. I was voted #1 in high school to fail. And guess what? I didn't listen to those people. And you shouldn't either. Right now, it's so important during this period of your life to reach and grab that opportunity. You got to remember, opportunities don't come to you. You have to get the opportunity. The opportunity is there. You just have to reach and grab it. And it's so important to follow these rules if you want to become anything you want to become. #1, we all have a purpose in life. We all have a purpose in life. What is your purpose? Do you really know what your purpose is? #2, you got to have passion. Have passion for what you want to become. Become passionate. I'm so passionate on what I want to do. I'm so passionate for the fans. I'm so passionate in my life. I'm so passionate about karate. I'm so passionate about making movies. You have to have passion. #3, patience. You got to have the patience. It's not going to happen overnight. You've got to have the patience. And #4 is profit. But who cares about profit if you don't have the ladder to succeed? The ladder to succeed is you have to have a purpose. You have to have passion. You have to have patience, and next will come profit. Everybody wants to be big, rich, and famous, but you can't buy happiness with money. You have to deposit in people's emotional bank account. People have to deposit in your emotional bank account, because if they're not, then they're not your friend. And you don't need those people. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to build you up. Don't put yourself in a bucket full of crabs, because what happens in a bucket full of crabs is when you reach the top, another crab reaches you and pulls you back down. So no one's getting to the top because the crabs are pulling you back down. Are your friends pulling you down? Are other people pulling you down? Well, you need to stop, because it is up to you, my friend. You control it. This is the rudder in the engine of the boat and the airplane. What you speak is what you get. If you say, I can't never do this, I can never follow my dreams, look, they're not going to be easy. People want the shortcut in life, but you have to do the work. So if you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, you know what? I never reached my goal. I never succeeded, not on money, but I never succeeded on what I want to become. Get off your butt and do something today. Look in the mirror and tell yourself this: I can. I will. That's the most important thing to succeed. Success is not all about money. Success is about happiness. So if this video touched you and you feel this video in your heart, tag a friend, because I'm only here for me. So if I could be here for me in order to succeed and be happy in my heart to share this message, then if it works for you and it touches your heart, send it to someone else. This is all about depositing in your emotional bank account. Do something good for someone today. Tell them you are awesome. Tell yourself you are worth everything. Everyone is equal. Doesn't matter who you are. People come up and say, man, you're my first celebrity I ever met. I'm not a celebrity, I am a person, just like you. So the most important thing is follow your dreams, go after it, and follow the 4 Ps. You got the purpose, you got the passion, you got to have patience. And next will come profit. But who cares about profit? You can't take it with you when you die. But what you can do is leave a legacy. A legacy behind. When you're gone, people say, hey, I remember this dude. And I remember what he did for me. So, are you going to leave a legacy behind? If you do, let's do it today. I love you all, man. Thank you for taking this time. 86,400 seconds a day. And people just drain their brain. They don't train their brain. So thank you for spending that time, this precious time in life, to watch this video.